you guys saying you couldn't hear me? Is that what, okay. Okay, I'll try to speak into the microphone. Can you turn this up at all? That's as much as it goes? Okay. Okay, everyone, I'd like to let everyone know that Michelle Cash had a family commitment and had to leave out of town, so she will be absent. The rest of us are all present. Let the roll call show that. I'd like to move on to the approval of the consent agenda.
I'll move the approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I'll support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda, and I do have an item to add as item E under new business. We had some complications on the installation of the Hawk signal on Grand River, and we need to talk about a change order, and I think Leslie will be able to put that in, but I need to have a discussion about that added. If everyone's okay with that?
I'll move the approval of the agenda as amended.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move on to announcements and communications. Anybody have anything they'd like to talk about? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to call to the public. This is when you come on up and talk about non-agenda related items. And please keep it within 3 minutes. And if you could, please give your name and address for the record. What's that?
Are we recording?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, he gave me the thumbs up. We can check.
Oh, it doesn't say on here.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, would you turn the on-air sign on, please?
And recording devices?
Well, they're on. There you go. Okay. Good catch. I didn't see that. All right.
Jim Chuck, 25365 Stanley Lane. I'm here tonight to talk to you about something that's been going on for 18 years. It's our Kite Festival. And we're very proud of the fact that we started this back in 2008. And actually it came about simply because if we go back in time, people were losing their homes, unemployment was high, and myself and a few other people decided, hey, what can we do to help? So we started a Kite Festival. Back then I think we had maybe 400 or 500 people that attended. 18 years later, we're up to 3,000 to 4,000 people. We went from a one-day festival to a two-day festival. And we can actually acclaim it's international because we have people from all over the United States that come to this festival, from Florida, North Carolina, and we also have friends in Canada that come across. So we're very proud of what we do. In fact, it's the second largest festival, kite festival in the state of Michigan, and certainly in Metro Detroit, it is the largest. There's a small one in Ann Arbor. There's one in Grand Haven. Thank you. I was trying to get it out. Belle Isle tried to get one up. Bottom line, if you are willing out there and you'd like to help, please go to lionevents.org. We're always looking for volunteers. More importantly, just come out and enjoy family fun for a couple of days. These kites, they fly to synchronized music. It's unbelievable. Some of these kites are 100, 150 feet long from tail to the front. And the good thing about it is, once you're inside, there's plenty of family activities that don't cost you a penny. We have food vendors. However, if you'd like to bring a lunch, there's plenty of places to sit down and enjoy a Saturday or Sunday afternoon relatively cheap. So hope to see you out there. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jim.
Good evening. My name is John Valenzuela. I am a resident of the Arbors of Lyon subdivision here in New Hudson. And, I really wasn't going to come and beat a dead horse again and talk about Project Flex until I saw the recent Channel 4 report. And so that is what has prompted me to come. There were a series of quotes in the Channel 4 report, and I just wanted to come, and there's been other developments that I wanted to address to the board in person here. So in regard to that Channel 4 report, I'm going to start with a quote from Trustee Blades. She said, I quote, "Legally speaking, my hands are tied," and this is relative to the Project Flex. So I looked into it, and in fact, that is true. your hands are tied. However, there is a caveat that I'd like to address here tonight. Yes, the land is zoned industrial, and yes, in 1992, computer centers were made a permitted use. And yes, that is what allowed Project Flex to move forward automatically without any input from you guys. I completely agree to that. That is true. However, I would like to also point out that your hands were not tied by the law. Your hands were tied by a failure to update the law. For over 30 years, the classification of computer centers sat unchanged while the world changed completely. What might have meant a small computer facility in 1992 now means a massive industrial-scale AI data center campus. This isn't bad luck, and this is not inevitability. Unfortunately, this is simply a failure of governance. So I'd like to also address a couple other things from the report that really spurred me to come. It has to do with the recall petition that is now circulating. In regards to that, some of you made some comments. Trustee Enlow dismissed the recall effort as an unjust objection to a cost of living pay increase, and Trustee Swain described it as a routine salary vote, as if there's nothing to see here. And Trustee Carconi said, and I quote, "It's a shame when I didn't do anything wrong." But I concur with you. You didn't do anything wrong. The problem is there's a concept in theology called a sin of omission. It isn't what you did, it's what you didn't do that led to this catastrophe. And what you didn't do was update the law to be in line with what's happening in the current world. And so this failure that we're dealing with, this didn't happen overnight. This happened through years of inaction, years of kind of business as usual, everything's fine, we're not going to look at the record, and now the consequences of that are here. And unfortunately...
I have to call your time. I'm sorry, your time's up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
about that, but thank you for your comment.
Good evening. My name is Larry, and I'm here as a resident who cares deeply about long-term safety, financial stability, and credibility of Lyon Township. I want to address the recent news surrounding Project Flex, the proposed 1.8 million square foot data center being built by Veris for their client Anthropic. In the last few weeks, several major developments have come to light about Anthropic. Developments that raise serious questions and concerns about whether the project is best interest for our community. First, Anthropic recently settled a $1.5 billion federal copyright class action lawsuit for allegedly downloading millions of books from shadow library piracy sites to train their AI systems. A federal court made it clear training on legal purchased books is fair, but downloading pirated books is not. Roughly 500,000 titles were affected, and the settlement fund closed on March 30th of this year. Second, Anthropic is now facing a new $3 billion lawsuit from major music publishers, Universal, Concord, and BMG, who allege the company illegally torrented downloaded more than 20,000 songbooks. This case is active and ongoing. Third, the Pentagon has formally labeled Anthropic a supply chain risk. Because of that designation, defense contractors are barred from using their AI system. While some federal agencies may still use the product while litigation continues, the Department of Defense ban is significant. It signals that the U.S. government has serious concerns with the company's reliability and security posture. Lyon Township is being asked to welcome a project where the client company Anthropic is entangled in $4.5 billion in lawsuits. The Pentagon has flagged them as a national security risk, and they have hired a Veris, a company with 33 employees with no track record building a data center anywhere in the world, to construct a hyper data center industrial facility next to homes, schools, and senior living. I ask you honestly, does this sound like a good deal for Lyon Township? Given this track record, what makes anyone believe these companies would suddenly follow our township ordinances? If a company with this level of legal exposure, federal scrutiny, a zero physical infrastructure experience came to any of us privately and asked us to build a massive industrial complex in our backyard, we would say no without hesitation. But Walbridge, who we thought was a good neighbor, said yes. Our township deserves partners with proven experience, transparent operation, and a clean legal regulatory record. We deserve companies that strengthen our community, not ones that introduce risk, uncertainty, potential long-term liabilities. I urge the board to pause, scrutinize, and demand answers before Project Flex moves forward.
Thank you, Larry.
My name is Kim, and I'm a Lyon Township resident. Walbridge has been a part of our community for many years, but after watching their involvement on the Downtown Development Authority, the DDA, and observing their participation on Planning Commission and Township Board meetings, it has become increasingly clear that perhaps their priorities no longer align with the interests of the residents they claim to serve. At this point, it might be in the best interest of the community for Walbridge to be removed from any active committees. Their continued presence seems to give them an inside track, access to departments, processes, and decision makers that ordinary residents do not have. That potential influence may allow them to move projects through the system with an ease and speed that undermines the transparency and public trust. This isn't about punishing a company. It's about restoring fairness, eliminating conflicts of interest, and ensuring that every developer is held to the same standards and the same processes. Our community deserves a level playing field, not a system where one entity should have built-in advantages simply because of its position inside township committees. Also, because of a potential conflict of interest, should Walbridge be removed from township boards? Lyon Township should not be the testing ground for any company. Thank you for your time and for considering the safety, stability, and integrity of our community.
Thank you.
My name is Jeff Barker, first name Geoff, last name Barker, and I live in South Lyon, New Hudson. Just had a couple of quick questions and then one comment to make. When are the portal questions going to be answered? Not one question seems to have been answered by the township. So that, I was in conversation with another citizen and that came up. So if that could be investigated. The other thing is the Coca-Cola plant lights, it looks like a landing strip. And just wondering when the wattage or the cut lights will be cut or reduced. The other one is, what about having Walbridge's property across from the Continental Aluminum plant checked for being a polluted brownfield? There was a lot of discussions when that went away. And the last point was, before my last point, is prevailing westerly winds for 25 years probably leads to a brownfield, so the soil should be tested. So I don't know if that's been contemplated in any of the projects or anything. I'm very much opposed to the data center. I don't really approve of the efforts of Walbridge, but I noticed several weeks ago the representative from Walbridge was making a presentation. And the one thing that we've all been hit over the head with, justifiably so, is to always be respectful, of everybody. At the end of that individual's presentation, one of the township board members said, "Thank you for mansplaining that to me." I thought that was an offensive term. And I think it's a bigoted term. I don't think it's in any place in a township meeting. And I only say that as, in the backdrop of how we're all told to be respectful and to have respectful dialogue, that was disrespectful. So I'd actually like to give a few seconds to that board member if they would like to potentially apologize for that remark, which was very bigoted and insulting.
I'm sorry I said mansplaining.
That's it, the minimum? Was it wrong
not-
to say, or the mindset was wrong?
I've been told repeatedly I'm not supposed to respond, but if you've asked that of me, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, good. A rare moment of accountability. So, anyway,
Is that respectful?
it was a little dismissive, it was a little abrupt.
Okay,
But-
we got to stop the back and forth.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry, John.
Thank you. No, I get it, I get it.
Hi, Leanne Roy. I live off of South Hill Road, Lyon Township. So I'm trying to figure out the conversation that we're having. There are 7 board members in front of me, 2 full-time, 5 part-time. Some simple math says that's about 180 hours per week. We found out about this project back in September, so that's roughly 28 weeks if I'm not counting September. At 180 hours a week, that's over 5,000 hours that could be dedicated towards one of the biggest issues facing Lyon Township since its conception. But yet we continuously hear there is nothing that you guys can do. However, you've been invited to conferences, informational meetings, local politician coffee chats. None of you guys are showing up. You've been invited to public hearings in Lansing to fight for Lyon Township, to gain information about what is happening to Lyon Township, the board who is representing Lyon Township. How come we, the people, are being forced to do this work? And now you're making us pull funding and resources to get you all recalled so we can get people in there to actually help us out. What conversation are we having? Are you for us or are you against us? Because it's kind of hard to navigate. It feels like you're against us, that we can't do anything, comment, get creative. We're looking at permits, we're looking at animals, we're looking at laws, we're citing case studies. Where are you guys at? It's insane. My next point, the benefits. I keep hearing about the construction jobs, right? I'm the wife of a skilled laborman, the daughter of one, the niece of 2 union members. Guess what the union doesn't have? Employees. Who is working these jobs? I know the men in Saline are out there, if you guys have been on social media, getting accosted. These union members, morally challenged because they are out there building data centers. Have you guys seen that? Is that a benefit to these gentlemen? Have you noticed that there's a decline in skilled labor? Have you guys seen the result of COVID? What does that mean? Less people doing the jobs and increased pricing of materials. There's bottlenecks, right, in supply chain management. So what does that mean for the other people that want to develop in Lyon Township? What does that mean for local residents that want to develop and buy materials to build their houses? We're seeing massive price increases. We're seeing delayed timelines. Please explain to me the benefit. Genuinely, I'm asking. That was the only one I kind of could rest on. We don't have long-term employment, but we have these construction jobs. Thank you.
Good evening, Frank Tartaglia, Martindale Road. I'm speaking tonight about a proposed zoning ordinance amendment for the Project Flex Data Center and its regulations. I sent this document to the Planning Commission, the board, and others. No further progress should occur until strict enforceable protections are in place, not discussed, not promised, in place. This moratorium exists because this community has already made its position very clear. We will not accept vague assurances, we will not accept developer-controlled studies, and we will not accept unresolved risks being shifted onto our neighborhoods. The responsibility of this board is not to accommodate a project of this scale and magnitude, it is to protect the people who live here. The following are proposed in this document. Independent third-party studies, including water, noise, environmental impact, infrastructure demands, must be evaluated by experts retained by the township, not the developer. enforceable performance standards, clear, measurable limits on noise and water usage, backed by real enforceable penalties with teeth. Real setbacks from homes and schools, not minimal buffers, meaningful distances that protect health, safety, and quality of life. Comprehensive fire and battery safety protections. No approval without clear enforceable standards addressing fire risk, emergency response capabilities, and energy storage hazards. Full financial accountability, $100 to $200 million financial assurances independently calculated to cover construction, operation, decommissioning, and full site restoration. The taxpayers will not carry this risk. Ongoing monitoring and enforcement, continuous oversight, transparent public reporting, and immediate consequences for violations starting on day one. In conclusion, these are not excessive demands. These are a minimum safeguard required for a project of this magnitude. If these protections are not fully in place and enforceable, then approval is not only premature, it is negligence. I am speaking as a resident of Lyon Township, and like many others tonight, am drawing a clear line. Ensure transparency, complete the studies, resolve the risks. And if that doesn't happen, this will not end in this room. I urge this community to continue engaging local news and to bring these concerns directly to our state representative, who I believe is Jason Morgan and Ann Bolin, to ensure accountability beyond this board. Anything less would be a failure of your fiduciary responsibilities to this community. Thank you.
You guys got mine ready to go?
You can go.
Okay. So I want to thank everybody, and I want to start on a positive and just
Could I
be
get your name, please?
Amanda.
Amanda, okay.
And I'm not going to give my address out because I don't feel comfortable with that. But
No,
speaking
Amanda's
of,
good. I just want to know who you are.
sure, no problem. By a show of hands, who actually lives in South Lyon Township?
We all do. Everybody here. in the-
Salem, Saline. Okay.
We all live in
So,
Lyon Township. We have to
Lyon.
be elected.
Okay, great. So cohesively, we all can agree that we want to be on one accord, right? So I think we're better than this. I really do. So I want you guys to just, everybody, like, whether you're in the crowd or whether you're on the board, like, come on, guys. Do we want to do this? Like, do we want to go to court? Brian, do you want to go? I think everybody wants to sleep good at night, and we're not because of stuff like this. But I think we're better than this. You know, the back and forth, people arguing. If you scan the room and you notice the demographic, so I would say roughly 80% baby boomers. Okay, so when I ask my friends, hey, are you guys going to go to the board meeting tonight? Well, just like this came about, most of the working class, my friends are out of town on conferences. Their husbands are traveling the world to try and make money. Why? Because it's expensive to live here. $600,000 homes. And we have the audacity to come to this point. I think we can do better. And I'm a little bit upset and ashamed that I'm even here. So guys, like, come on now. Do we want to go to courts? Because we have money and we can go down that road. But a comment was made that this will cost millions to forego. So here we are again, capitalism. And that is a damn shame. I have a 9-year-old son, and I buried my parents over glioblastoma and disability. Karma's a bitch. So I encourage everybody to think of a higher good instead of capitalism, because that is unfortunate. And that's where we're at in this world. So as I raise my 9-year-old son to walk into school, and by the way, 2022, South Lyon has shown contaminants in water to today. So let's go to court. If you want to go to court, let's see what's going to cost millions of dollars. Because I guarantee we're going to show some water. We're going to show a lot more issues in the data center, and we can go there. But again, I don't know if you guys want to. $600,000 homes, $700,000 homes, and we have the audacity to be in this room right now. And that is a damn shame. And I bust my ass to be here. I made it out of the hood, and I will not settle for less.
Evening, everybody.
How are you doing?
My comments are going to be boring. It's tough following Amanda.
Could I just get your name? Could I just get your name?
Pete Marsack, Lyon Township.
Okay.
So my comments tonight are about process, sequencing, and the importance of allowing decisions that the board has made to fully play out. The board adopted a moratorium because it recognized the zoning standards for large data centers needed to be revisited before any additional approvals move forward. And that was a deliberate and responsible decision. And in situations like this, sometimes the most appropriate action is to actually not take any new action at all, but to allow existing decisions to do their work. Moratoria exists to pause momentum, prevent unintended reliance, and preserve a municipality's ability to apply updated standards fairly and consistently. Acting incrementally while a moratorium is in place risks undermining its purpose, even if each individual action appears unrelated when you view them in isolation. I want to respectfully note that the board is not obligated to approve anything simply because it appears on an agenda or because a request has been resubmitted. The board retains full discretion to wait, ask for clarity, and ensure the zoning updates are completed before additional permissions are granted. Doing nothing in this context, it's not avoidance, it's discipline. It's alignment with the moratorium. It's allowing the zoning process to conclude before introducing actions that may create momentum or expectations that cannot be easily reversed. I'm not asking the board to decide the merits of any specific project tonight. I'm asking the board to respect the sequencing it already established. Finish the zoning updates, let the moratorium serve its purpose, then consider future requests with clarity and confidence. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Patrick Summers. I live in South Lyon. I came here before, kind of a little while ago. My background is a simulation lead for one of the OEMs here. So I was giving some comments on the noise study in particular and some other comments as well. On the noise study, the only thing I wanted to call out is just to make sure that we're holding them to demonstrate that they know what they're doing. So it's not just the noise study is complete, it's that it's going to be accurate when constructed. All right, so it's not relative, it's absolute. So what we need to do is make sure that the only way to demonstrate this is same methodology they're using now, and we show that they've done this before, pre-construction prediction, post-construction measurement. They have to demonstrate they know what they're doing here. Otherwise, it's just numbers on a page. Me as a simulation lead, done this for a long time, one thing I can definitely do is I can make a tail wag a dog. I can make that say whatever I want it to say, and people are none the wiser, and I can just pull it over their eyes, construct it. Oh, it's 58 dB, what are you going to do now? I'm going to sue you into the ground, right? So this is what we need to make sure we do in advance. So that's enough on the noise study. Some of the other things that I want to look at and consider, looking at other projects around the country, I feel like there's money on the table. Like if this is going to happen, they are not paying their fair share into the community here. They're funding for like acoustic glass that could be close to the area for the housing, the schools, things like that, things that could help just, along the way, make people feel more comfortable if, going down that path. And the final thing I wanted to talk about today was kind of out of our hands, but kind of an awareness thing. One thing I think is a loophole that all of these companies are kind of going through trying to do with the MPSC is power generation. So they talk about meeting demand, but DTE is excess capacity right now. So that's for the saline one. That's what they're kind of quoting. Right now, DTE has generating capacity of 11 gigawatts. They have 8.4 gigawatts of data center in the pipeline. So about a 75% increase. But really the near term pipeline is about 2 gigawatts plus the saline. So about 3 gigawatts or so. If we actually put that in place, generating capacity is about $2,000 a kilowatt for a combined cycle gas turbine plant, about $1,500 a kilowatt for solar energy, renewables. So in terms we can understand, about $2,100 flat rate per customer to build these if it goes through a loophole. So if they say that they're okay, all they're doing right now by building these best implementations is that they're kicking it down the road. So we're going to all be hit by this, plus operating expenses on the 3 gigawatts will be about $80 a month per customer to put these in. So there's a real downside that's kind of floating through. So my time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie. I'm a Lyon Township resident. On April 8th, Veris submitted what it's calling a second final site plan package for Project Flex. I've looked it over, and I just want to bring a specific pattern to the board's attention. So your township engineer, CES, requested engineer-stamped water consumption calculations, and the applicant's response was to ask for a deferment, stating that the design variables are still unresolved. It's labeled as the final site plan submission, so the design isn't even good enough to give some information. The submission shouldn't be called final. Your noise consultant, K&S Engineers, requested ambient sound readings from adjacent properties. The applicant's attorneys responded that those readings will not be taken or provided. Not that they were done and acceptable, but they just won't be done at all. Your planner, McKenna, identified building changes significant enough to require planning commission review, and the applicant's attorneys responded that those changes should be reviewed administratively, bypassing the commission entirely. And the energy audit that the planning commission specifically conditioned their approval on, the applicant's attorneys now have argued in writing that the township lacks the authority to require one. I also want to bring something else directly to the board's attention. I know on April 10th, attorneys for both Walbridge and Veris submitted formal legal letters challenging the proposed ordinance amendments. Those letters were addressed to the planning commission, not to this board. The moratorium and ordinance processes were initiated by this board. Those letters should have been addressed to you. At least one trustee I spoke with yesterday was never even made aware by the township that those letters existed. So I don't know if that all of you have even seen them. The board tabled the drain easement vote last month because the record was incomplete. The record on Project Flex is also incomplete. The applicant has now stated in writing through council why they intend to keep it that way. So I respectfully ask this board to confirm that it has reviewed those April 10th letters and ensure that your consultant's outstanding questions receive complete answers before any further approvals are considered or granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Paul Lavoie. I live at 58180 Travis Road, right across the street where this monstrosity is going to be built. I don't know if I can say it or not, but I'm pissed, and I'm sure everybody in here is pissed that you guys didn't do the research. Same as Continental Aluminum. You didn't do the research, and you allowed them in here for so many years, and it's the same thing. Now that you got the ball rolling, we're trying to stop it. So, in regards to how much bond do they have to put up to put this building, I hope you quadruple it, because when they walk away and leave all that crap behind, who in the hell is going to pay for the cleanup? It's bad enough that you allowed it to be built next to a school. You should have passed an ordinance that nothing could be built like that within 3 to 4 miles of a school. So when this school closes, taxpayers are going to have to build another one? And they're going to be using lithium. Lithium is on one of the highest dangerous elements known, right below hydrogen. I don't know if you ever looked on videos or not, but pissing on it ain't going to put it out, and sure hell the water you're going to pour it on it ain't going to go out. And all the water you put on is going to go into the ground unless you're putting a recovery system, which they do in all major auto plants and everything. If there's a fire and everything, they have to have a recovery deal so all that water gets processed and not put on the ground, because that's going to be our wells, not yours. And you better put extra phone lines in, because people are going to be calling like a son of a gun. I called every damn day when Continental Aluminum was there, to you and to EPA. Also, you should pass an ordinance that anything of this size, I don't know if you want to set the bill, the height at 20, 25 million, should be put to a vote of the residents, not just relied on a handful of people. Oh, hell, that's all I got to say. I'm pissed. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Vanessa. Some of you have seen me before. Sorry?
Did you say Melissa?
Vanessa.
Vanessa, got it.
That's right. I wanted to talk about the recall really quickly. There's a gentleman who stood up earlier and talked about that petition circulating. Obviously, you all know, but I wanted to clarify for folks. Those petitions are not circulating yet. There's still a process that has to happen. 10-day appeal period has to pass, so those things are not occurring yet. But I also want to comment on Mr. Valenzuela's comments earlier about, failure to act. That's really sort of the crux here. I know anybody who's kind of gone on record with press has said, out of our hands, this wasn't ours, there's nothing we can do, and almost in the same breath said, but all of these residents should really have been paying attention and should have showed up to meetings. The same goes for the folks that were elected to represent everyone, right? And this is not necessarily pointing fingers because the room was empty before, but if this wasn't an elective, process or an elective government, we'd all have to be here every single time. We'd be one vote for every single decision. This population is counting on the people that they elect to keep watch. And it's tough for people to make time to show up and do these things. An empty room to me means a working government to an extent. And I want to say that this could have gone differently. In January, or in December really when this hit, when the news hit, and in January when the room filled up probably for the first time in a long time, the message from everybody here could have been, hey, this does suck, and I'm a resident, and I feel that too, and I'm on your side, and we're going to do what we can to protect the community. And also, we missed this in the note. We didn't go back and look at this in detail. We didn't think this data center was going to be as big of a deal as we thought. A little bit of just mea culpa in this would have been incredibly humanizing. And it would have put you on the us side of the us versus them. I know it's very frustrating to sit with the recall process. I know that can be stressful. This is the only redress that this community has. There's no way for us to take people off the Planning Commission. But there's a process here of people who appointed people to the Planning Commission. So as frustrating as this is, you have to understand that the buck stops with you. So this is where the community needs to express themselves. And if you have something else that you would like to say during this meeting about what you would have done differently, I'd love to hear it. I know you can't talk about it right now, but I think it really comes down to the community doing what they feel they have the only option to do. So thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Good evening.
How you doing?
My name is Cecil George, and I've been in this community for the last 10 years, and I actually enjoy this community. I've attended 3 of these so far. I haven't said anything, but I've been traveling around our district, and the one thing that I notice is we don't have state representatives at our town halls, but we have state representatives representing us. We don't have transparency with a lot of the board members throughout the communities. I am running for state senate in this district because I don't like the fact of the transparency that we have here. I don't like a lot of things that's been going on in this district, this county, this state that we can change. And you guys failed us harshly, like terribly. And even tonight, when I look around, there's not a person in here that's running, that's showing up at any of these things still. Your recall is necessary at this point. I feel what people are doing to fight back because no one's listening to them. Y'all are leaders. Y'all are supposed to lead us. Y'all were picked to represent us. Where's the representation when people are speaking? I know y'all can't answer, but still, it really affects everybody around us. My kids have been in this district since they started school. For that center to go up, and for the fact of everybody's talking about the noise pollution. There's older folks in this community. They've been in this community for years. It's going to affect them. They're saying it's going to affect at least 7.9 miles around us. Like, that's square mileage. That's outside of Lyon Township, South Lyon. It's going to affect too many people with the noise. I don't understand why y'all could not stand up for us. I really don't understand it. But I will. So if I have to go to stand up for us, I will. I will be standing up for us with the best of my ability in Lansing. Because I am going to win, and I will make sure that this never happens again. That is all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hello, board. My name is Carter. I live like 6 minutes away, right across the street from where this is going in. And I would just like to say that if I was incompetent at my job, my boss would fire me. And I think it's our time as your guys' bosses to do the same.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'm going to be all over the place. My name's Amy. There were, I thought, an opportunity for this to be stopped at the Planning Commission. There was, in the minutes, comments made about it when it was presented as new business. There was a comment about the exception on the parking by one of the people on the planning board, that he was okay with it because no one shows up there anywhere to work. So I don't know where the 210 jobs are coming from. And someone else said it was the best thing that ever happened to South Lyon, right? And then they all said, aye. So there was an opportunity for people to say no, but they all said aye, and away we go. I'm a little incensed by a flyer that my sister received recently, saying that South Lyon Township deserves better. And we should be making our board pass all this stuff needed to clean out the drain. Yeah, we've deserved better for a long time on the drain. But now all of a sudden, it's important and we deserve better. I don't know who sent out the flyer, and I had a copy of it, but I forgot it at home. But a little incensed that this is propaganda being put out to people to get this passed, because the drain is what's going to pass this. We have an opportunity to stop it with the drain and the permits that's needed to do it. We can hold it up and make Veris want to get out. Has anybody talked to the airport about the heat islands that they're now talking about? There's a huge heat island over the top of these data centers. And now you've got little planes flying right over it. Was on the road going, first time I've ever seen an airplane land in that airport. And they went right over the data center. Now, how is that going to affect on a cold day and a hot turbulence coming up out of the heat being expanded from this data center? Is that going to create a problem? Has anybody thought about it? And the person that was concerned about the lights at the Coca-Cola, when they build the 5-story building in front of it, you won't see the lights. There was talk about a budget meeting coming up. At the one meeting, I don't know, I've been to so many, on the bills for the drain and the 10-year audit they want to do. And I'd just like to know how we're going to be informed about this, because there's going to be a public hearing about this budget meeting. So if you guys don't know about the budget meeting, you might want to talk to somebody over here and find out about it. It was probably in your minutes that you should have read from those meetings.
Okay, Amy, we got time's up, sorry.
Just one more thing. DTE is now blackmailing us with their rate increase. There was a post from DTE saying, we'll not do another one for 2 years if the data center in Saline opens as proposed.
Thanks, Amy.
Blackmail.
Okay.
Evening. My name is Craig. I am a Lyon Township resident. The word that comes to mind right now, well, actually, there are a lot of them. I would like to conflate, if I may, and bend the rules slightly and combine some of the drain easement business with some of the business that I think reflects Project Flex proposal overall, which is the latitude that has been given for the many and varied opportunities for the people at play to submit plans and revised plans and slightly revised and different plans to meet the reasonable criteria that you all have asked them to submit. Information, legislation, resolutions, all of the above. How many chances are these folks going to get? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come on up? Come on up, Robin.
Robin Allen, 28,550 Tyndale. I didn't want to talk tonight, so I apologize for all the stuff in the past. But I noticed Mr. Pacini, I think is that correct? Is that correct? Okay, all right. From Rawbridge is here. Never seen him before, other than the DDA. Is that a threat to the township that they're going to sue? Patty, you said that we were so lucky to get them. I wonder if your opinion's changed now that they're threatening to sue the township. As far as I'm concerned, bring it on. We don't want this place, okay? What else? Okay. Try and remember everything. We don't want this. We are willing to fight Walbridge. We don't want it. The public doesn't want it. You should take the public's opinion. That's what we elected you people for, to do what the public wants. And you're not doing that. So, I guess that's all I gotta say. You guys gotta you guys should do what the public wants. And you're not doing that. We don't want it. If we have to go to court to fight them, bring it on. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin.
How you doing? My name is Gary Burke. I live in New Hudson. I've been here since 1985. It's really pretty easy. You go on the internet and you look at the positives. There aren't any. You suck up all our water, you suck up all our electricity, You guys going to replace that when our wells go dry? Secondly, if you look at the downside, there's no jobs. What jobs are you going to, what are you making for us here? We don't need that. Why don't you build subdivisions, which are probably a lot harder to get approvals from than they are what you guys are giving approvals here. So that's all I got to say.
Thanks. Okay, anyone else want to come on up? No, 2 times. Come on now. All right. No, we can't do that. Sorry, Paul. All right, well, thanks, everybody. I'm telling you, we do take these things to heart. I know you don't believe that, but this board does work hard for everybody, and we're going to continue doing it no matter what. And I'm just saying, we do. All right, we're going to move on off call to the public to reports. And our first report is DDA. Amy? Can everybody hear me? I'm trying to talk loud. You still can't hear me back there? I wonder what. We did all these just recently. Okay. Amy, talk right into it.
Good evening, everyone. Since our last meeting back in April, I just wanted to give a few updates from the DDA. So as the director, I had the opportunity to attend the Main Street Oakland County Summit that took place over in Pontiac, and also had the opportunity to attend the Main Street Now conference, which was held in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Came back with a lot of good potential project ideas and information that I'll be sharing with my board soon. If anybody wants some details on those sessions, please let me know. I'd love to talk to you about what I learned. We've also had the opportunity to start submitting for HUD reimbursements for design and planning work for the Southeast Ring Road and the New Hudson Drain, based on a grant from, at the time, Representative Slotkin that we received back in 2024. So I just wanted to make you aware that reimbursements are starting to come through for that work done. We also had the opportunity to submit through the Oakland County Board of Commissioners a special projects grant application for our Music on the Grand Summer Concert Series. And last week we were awarded $5,000 to help offset the cost of that program. I had the opportunity to complete the Main Street America self-accreditation for our organization, and also completed our Main Street Oakland County quarterly reporting. We welcomed a new committee chair for our Economic Vitality Committee. Ms. Michelle Chappell will be joining us. We had our first meeting with her today, so we're excited to have somebody new on board. We have a couple events coming up. Our Touch a Truck is on Wednesday, June 24th from 11 to 2 at Lowe's in New Hudson. Our Music on the Grand Summer Concert Series starts on June 10th. There's flyers out in the breezeway for all of the different events coming up. Over the weekend, we had the opportunity to celebrate a 10-year anniversary and grand reopening celebration with South Lyon Cardio Drumming. They changed spaces, downsized a little bit, but have done a fantastic job of redoing the interior of their space. And they have such a great group of dedicated individuals that they did all of their own construction in there, painting, setting up. So we were very excited to celebrate with them this past weekend. There are a lot of great Cinco de Mayo events happening around the community tomorrow, so please get out and support a local business if you can. And then also I wanted to let you know that at our DDA board meeting next week, we will be hosting one of our 2 annual presentations that's required by PA 57, where we'll talk about what the DDA has been up to the last year, what our fund balances are, the projects that they're associated with, and just about a year in review for 2025. So the public is welcome to that. That'll be taking place first thing at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, May 12th. And then along with that, our regular business, we will be setting up a date for our budget workshop, which we will be discussing projects to include in our 2027 budget request. So we are hopeful that we can get that scheduled sometime in June. I know that came up in public comments, so I just wanted to update everybody on that. And the new DDA treasurer has been working hard on an internal audit of all of our consultants in the past 3 years, I believe. And then from there, once we internally discuss that, we'll be determining whether we want to move forward with additional scope of those audits, but that hasn't been determined yet by the DDA board. So, are there any questions on the report?
I
Okay.
have a question. What businesses will be affected by the data center?
what businesses will be affected.
Right.
If you want to come and talk to me afterwards, I can have a one-on-one conversation, but I don't think it'll be productive in this format right now.
Yeah, we'll have to keep the reports just one way, and then we can ask after the fact, and we can talk about it later. All right, are you good, Amy?
Yep.
All right, we have Chief Fire. Come on up, Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the month of April, Fire Prevention did 13 inspections totaling just over 521,000 square feet, bringing our year-to-date total to 69 inspections and 2.5 million square feet. On average, our firefighters did 15 hours of training this past month per person. Our focus this past month was active assailant training. We did that in conjunction with South Lyon Fire Department down at Dolson Elementary. We'd like to thank the school for allowing us the use of the building. This month's training will be our annual physical agility test for all the firefighters and our extrication training. Our run numbers are up 39 calls from this time last year. April of 25, we were at 605. For April of 26, we're at 644. The Station Bay painting project is coming along nicely. We anticipate it to be completed by the end of this week. It looks very nice. I encourage you guys to stop by and check it out if you'd like. And concrete work will begin the end of this month at both stations, so you'll see that happening and lots of stuff happening. Any questions?
Great, thanks, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Lieutenant?
Coming. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right. We have 2 new deputies here. They started this month, so they're on the afternoon shift. That brings our total vacancies down to 3. Hopefully, we'll be able to secure a couple more bodies in the upcoming classes. Next up, the Sheriff's Office did post a bulletin reminding the public that scams are on the rise. They aren't really going anywhere. The Sheriff's Office will never call anyone and demand any money for unpaid parking tickets, loved ones in jail, or anything of that nature. So if you receive a call, it's just best to just hang up. Don't send anybody any money, especially if you have to pay the bill with iTunes cards or Bitcoin machines. Next up, if you're interested in having coffee with the sheriff, the big guy will be in town at the Kroger and Pontiac Trail this August 26th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you have some time and you want to have coffee with him, swing on down. I'm sure he'll be glad to see you. And lastly, SafeWise.com, the independent research website, posted our yearly stats based from the FBI Uniform Crime Report. In Lyon Township, we moved from 9th to the 7th safest city in the state. So that's good. That means we're doing a good job. That concludes my report. Does anyone have any questions for me?
We appreciate that protection.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Lieutenant. All right, we're going to move on to the Planning Commission report.
Brian's going to do that
Brian?
because I wasn't at the Planning Commission.
Thank you, John. The Planning Commission in April had 3 site plans that they were considering, or 3 requests, I should clarify. The first was an amendment to an approved site plan for Consumers Energy on Griswold Road. It was a minor modification to a plan due to some engineering complications in a pathway. So that was approved by the Planning Commission. There was a request to extend the validity for a site plan for a subdivision at the northwest corner of Napier and 9 Mile Road, a 25-unit single-family project. That was granted. And the third was a review of Cattails Preserve, which is a development proposal for the use of the Cattails Golf Course for 127 homes on 160 acres. That's a planned development. The Planning Commission recommended approval of that final site plan, final PD plan. That will come before the Township Board at an upcoming meeting. Staff and your consultants are working through some updates to the agreement before that can come to the Township Board. Additionally, the Planning Commission discussed a draft of the large land use and data center ordinance. We received feedback from some residents from the Planning Commission, and we'll have an updated draft at next week's Planning Commission. And John, I should have spoke earlier. I know previously under announcements and communications, I've been giving updates on where we're at with the Project Flex plan. One of the residents did note that the township received the second submittal of the final site plans at the beginning of April. The consultants have been reviewing those, and we're trying to get consultant review letters out this week is our intent, and those will go up on the website. But I do want to note also that the answers to the Q&As have begun to be posted to the website. There are hundreds of answers that are up there today that were posted last week. And so we'll continue to add more as clarity occurs through the review of the final site plans. That's all I've got. Thank you.
What was that?
That's all I've got.
Okay, thanks. On the website and the Q&As on the facts, I know that they've been uploading a lot of answers as they're getting them, and I know it's starting to populate pretty good. It's a lot of reading on there.
Very hard to figure out if it's a packet, if it's an agenda.
No, it's on, I think it's called, I think it's called facts. What is it called, Tina? You've been uploading a lot of them answers, so. Homepage under community to the,
But there's also links in the alert box and also in the news article that was posted.
okay. Is there a way we could make that easier? Could you put like a button on the front page where we do? Okay.
I'm not connected right now.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to go to community and then come down? Okay, good. Yeah, we'll make that easier and easier. Okay. But I know they're uploading a lot of questions that they're getting answers to. All right, let's move on to the ZBA. Lisa, I know you had work this time.
Yes. On April 20th, we had one request, and it was for a variance request for 4.5 feet into the side yard setback. That was approved, and we also did send a request to the Planning Commission to take a look at some of these similar requests and see if they can update the ordinance. We've had several of a similar nature, so when we start to see a pattern, we'd like to update the ordinance to accommodate for that, and especially if they're homes that have that are existing, they're not brand new homes. Like this one was, they wanted to put an addition, so we want to keep our residents here, and we want, if their family is expanding, then we want to take a look at a way that that will allow that. And then we do not have a meeting this month.
Got it. Thank you, Lisa. Our building department will not have a report tonight because he sits on the board, the code board, and he's in a conference the whole week this week. So that's where he's at. But I know the building department is super busy. I know that. All right, we'll move on to water. Well, the water plant is coming together. I mean, it is what it is. I'm still hoping for the end of May. I'm praying the end of May. But it is coming together really well. And again, I offer tours if anybody would like to see the water plant. I give tours, and they're always very impressed at the end, as I am. It's a fantastic system we have here. All right, any questions before we move on to reports? All right, let's move on. We're going to move into our first agenda item in unfinished business, which is the request for the Township Board review and approval of the proposed temporary construction easement to Walbridge and permanent easement to the Water Resource Commission on township-owned parcels for the new Hudson Road bypass tree clearing and future drain bypass on parcels 21, 03, 352, 002, and 21, 03, 351, 026. And I think we want to start this off. Leslie, do you want to start this off, or who do we want to start this off?
I believe Walbridge's engineer has prepared the presentation.
Do you want it up there?
Okay, then you want to go ahead and start off? Okay.
got a 9-foot long VGA cord easement. Thank you. Good evening. George Holton for South Hill Business Park West, LLC. I'm coming before you tonight to seek completion of a project nearly a decade in the making. Specifically, the request tonight is for the granting of a temporary easement across township property to allow for South Hill to complete the construction of a bypass drain, which will then allow for Oakland County to be able to accept an upgraded drain system and receive a permanent easement across much of the same area for the operation of a county drain. Now, since before 2018, the South Hill Business Park has been contemplated by this township, and in several instances, by some of you sitting before me tonight. It's something your township engineer has encouraged and supported in 2018, 2022, and 2024. And a key consideration of the project has been finding the solution to a problem that's affected the township for several decades. Now on the screen right now is an illustration of something that Oakland County and Lyon Township engineers have agreed illustrates the existing floodplain over Lyon Township. Now I want to be very clear on this. This is not what FEMA considers the floodplain. This is what engineers have agreed is the actual existing floodplain affecting residents. However, by contrast, this is what FEMA believes the floodplain to be over Lyon Township over the same area. Now, this was done in 2006. It's the last FEMA study done in the area. Unlike the previous map, this is not based on the lived-in experiences of Lyon Township residents. This is based solely on variables which relate to issues such as precipitation, topography, snow melt, and the theoretical capacity of the then existing drain system. And again, you can see effective 9/29/20 or 2006 down there for the FEMA flood map. Now that last part's important. Theoretical capacity of the then existing drains. That's the only variable that they consider that's within our control. Snow melt, precipitation, topography, we can't affect that. And the solution to getting that large map to resemble the FEMA map is what I'm here to talk about tonight. Now, Trustee Enlow has previously cited his plan to improve infrastructure to support increasing population, which includes culvert replacements with coordination of RCOC and private entities, along with cleaning and dredging of existing 100-year-old drains to improve drainage. Several of you, including Trustees Blades and Swain, cite the need to develop water and sewer systems, and South Hill has started to solve this problem. It's a partnership several of you have lauded in the past years. Specifically, Trustee Enlow again cited one of his successes being that funded by developers, portions of the new Hudson drain have been cleaned and portions of the Novi and Lyon drain have been studied with improvements forthcoming. That's this project. That's what we're talking about tonight. And encouragingly, this is not something that's been supported in the past. It's something that's still supported. Trustee Blades has expressed a desire to encourage partnerships with developers so they contribute to our infrastructure needs. Trustee Enlow again discussed the need to put pressure on developers to contribute towards infrastructure improvements, such as county drain cleanouts. Public comments tonight talked about working with developers to provide the exact benefits that this county drain cleanout will provide at no cost to the township. Trustee Swain continues to note, responsible development and infrastructure improvements are two of my top priorities, as is fiscal responsibility, including pursuing grants and other funding opportunities to make your tax dollars go further, and working with local businesses and stakeholder groups to make that happen. What we're discussing tonight encompasses all of that. Tonight, we've returned to request the temporary easement that started over 8 years ago to develop not only South Hill Business Park, but also to alleviate this exact flooding throughout most of Lyon Township. Now, this is from the 2022 submission that was approved. In the top left of that kind of oval shape, you're going to see the same easement we're here about tonight. It's the same easement the township engineer has talked about in meeting minutes and letters spanning from 2018 till the present as being necessary. And it's a project that's had support for nearly a decade until recent months. It's a project that was supported in the first phase in 2024. This is the northern edge of the South Hill Business Park property. This is the drain cleanout that's already been done. You're looking at from here west to east. It's the same easement that the DDA supported in 2024 when it encouraged this township board to send a letter to the state to secure necessary funding for the ring road. It's a project the board has seemingly always supported until recently, and the support makes sense. I've showed you already how the failures of the drain have caused us to move from a theoretical floodplain to a giant red blob covering half the township. If nothing else, solving this flooding would be enough to justify the support. We've come tonight to request the ability to restore the drain to its original design, to replace undersized culverts, and to lower the grade to its appropriate level. And why wouldn't the township want to alleviate flooding for such a substantial part of its residents? Is it public pressure over Project Flex? Project Flex is frankly irrelevant for this discussion. This plan has been on the books for years.
We got to listen here, please.
This plan has been on the books for years, well before Project Flex was ever considered. Look at your notes, look at your records, look at your own statements. The creation of this bypass has already been considered and approved by this and other boards. So what's changed? Approving this doesn't mean Project Flex moves forward. There's other steps. Everyone's acknowledged that. This isn't the last domino to fall. But what approving this does do is it stops the flooding going on throughout the neighborhood. What this does do is it gets you one step closer to another major project that's been talked about at least twice tonight. We all know about the Ring Road project. It's been mentioned tonight. Several of you have mentioned it throughout the years. We just got an update about the 2024 grant that was given by, I think, Representative Slotkin. South Hill supported these grants along with you because they know the importance of the Ring Road. The Ring Road is something trustees Enlow, Swain, and Blades have all cited as priorities, and it requires this bypass easement to get done. Without this clean out, the Ring Road remains a dream. It simply can't be developed. By approving the temporary easement and allowing the construction work to take place, you allow that Ring Road project to take an important step in the right direction. You allow for your past promises to become a reality. And you do so at no cost to the township. Now, you've discussed the need for public-private partnerships and to remain fiscally responsible. South Hill has demonstrated that commitment already through the $7 million spent and the nearly $4.5 million budgeted for remaining improvements. Frankly, doing this is not something that's South Hill's responsibility, but it's something that nearly a decade ago they agreed to undertake when developing their property. Denying this easement is frankly nothing short of irresponsible. Because what happens if it's not approved? If this isn't approved, the costs get passed on to residents.
Please try to refrain, please.
If this is not approved, the costs from the flooding get passed on to the residents whose properties are affected by it. If this is not approved, the costs get passed on to residents who have to deal with the increased traffic due to the lack of the Ring Road. If this isn't approved, the costs get passed on to residents because at some point, the county is going to decide enough's enough. The county is going to take on this project, and the county is going to bond it out. The county is going to impose a way to find those costs. These costs are not something that are going to sit in limbo. They're going to be paid. And South Hill Business Park has agreed to take them on. The exact private-public partnership that so many of you have lauded as being important. Your rejection tonight would accomplish nothing more than hurting the people you seek to support. Now, the last time we were here, you talked about not having enough information to decide. And we understand wanting to know more about the project. We understand why you want to know more about the project. I know trustees O'Neill and Swain talked about wanting to have all the information in front of them. That's why we've submitted everything that's been requested from the last meeting, including permanent easements, plans, details, and more. If you have questions, we're here to answer them tonight. We're here to work with you through them. We're here to figure out what needs to get done to improve this temporary easement. We've been a partner here for decades, and on this project for over 10 years. We've worked on this exact project with you for almost a decade. What we're asking tonight is for the same temporary easement that's been considered for that decade to be approved so that we can move forward with solving these flooding issues. And if you choose not to approve it tonight, we would ask that you give us kind of an explanation for why, so we can reevaluate to figure out what we need to do to have it approved next time we come before you. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone want to open up the conversation? Oh, you want to continue?
I was going to say, we also have a representative from Oakland County Water Resources here if you'd like to hear from him.
Well, yeah, I think we would like to hear from him. You want to come up and add anything to it? Sure.
Hello, Board.
How you doing?
I'm Jeff Wilson. I'm the Chief Engineer over Construction Support, Drain, and Lake Level Maintenance with the Oakland County Water Resource Commissioner's Office. And I walked in the door about 10 years ago to the Water Resource Commissioner's Office. We'd started working on this project. It had actually been going on for several years. So years of coordination between our two offices and the township engineer to make sure that when development had occurred on this site that it was going to meet all the stormwater rules, regulations. The stormwater rules and regulations have changed over time. And so we've been reviewing everything with the channel cleanout, the bypass construction, the pedestrian bridge, the ring road, the lands added 433 agreement, that's a drain code reference, and the eventual regional basin that would include the ring road. So years of coordination on this, and we currently have approximately 16 permits for the different federal, state, and local rules that we're enforcing for this project and what the developer's doing. And to let you know the status, there's several of these permits that they can't actually occur until other physical construction has completed. So some of them are not issued, but they're in progress and they're conceptually agreeable. Again, we've been working on this for so many years that we essentially know where it's going to be going and what it's supposed to look like. So currently there is the cleanout project going on, and I'm the one who authored the letters that went to the residents that live along the drain, as we would with any of our other projects. And once that's complete and the culverts are completed, that will lead to the ability to actually permit some of the additional work as well involving the extension. So the developer has put up the funding to do the cleanout project and has agreed to everything that we've asked for. And so we're working with them through construction and want to make it very clear that if residents have any questions about any of it, that it is me that they contact, and I'm the representative for our office, and I'm also the lead permit contact for all these as well. So that's all I wanted to say.
So can I ask one question? So the drain from Milford Road, including Milford Road and the culvert, that's already a go? You're already working on that?
So Martindale to Milford.
Yep, that's what I mean, Martindale to Milford.
Yep, the clean out of the existing drain back to original contours. Yes, that is already a go.
So basically, I guess my question, and I have to ask this question because I know that this bypass drain was talked about for a lot of years. I know, I've heard tale of it. But we never really could figure out why it wasn't put in the original drain. I mean, why didn't we use the original drain? I guess my question is, if it was put in the original drain, you wouldn't need the property from the township. I mean, basically, you guys would give them the okay, as you did from Milford Road to Martindale, and they could clean the existing drain how it was originally configured. I mean, why would we end up with this major bypass that causes this extra?
So the short answer is storage. That you saw the floodplain that was shown, that had to be stored somewhere. And the easement on the new Hudson drain, this is an original drain in Oakland County going back over 100 years, and an agricultural drain. It does not have a wide easement. So it can be dug out to original shape, and that's about it. It can't really be improved upon within the easement. So the bypass channel will provide additional storage. That's what's going to alleviate flooding.
So one other question down the same road there. If you cleaned out the existing drain, would that alleviate the floodplain that we have? If you cleaned the existing drain the way it sets now, and you cleaned the drain from Milford Road all the way to Martindale, would that alleviate the floodplain in the downtown?
You need the bypass.
The bypass is the only way to get the floodplain out of downtown?
You need some additional storage some way. Yep.
Was there a model done for that to figure out if that would take it, or? No, I'm just asking, I don't know. Did you model the existing drain to find out?
You're asking if we model just the existing
existing
drain.
To alleviate the.
I don't specifically. There's a lot of history to the project. I don't know what specific models were prepared on that. But there's been a specific model prepared for the proposed condition, showing the significantly increased storage capacity with the addition of the bypass channel.
So the bypass is inevitable if you want to get the floodplain out of the downtown. That's what the Drain Commission, you guys are saying.
You need volume somewhere, yes.
Okay. Did you want to add anything before we open it up? Did you have anything to add? Or you go ahead, Sean.
No, I was going to ask Mr. Wilson, we've talked about this drain needing to be cleaned out, and we throw around numbers like 70 years ago, 80 years ago. When was the last time there was a drain project, a clean out project, a maintenance project from the Office of the Water Resource Commission?
It's been a lot of minor maintenance, so it's a lot of taking out down trees, jetting block culverts, removing small blockages. In terms of a major reshaping of the contours, so like a true dig out, that's been 60 years.
Yeah, I think part of the discussion last month was that this has been a problem for 60 years, so it's not an emergency tonight because we're okay. It's been 60 years, and I'm not going to throw you to the wolves. You got brought here from the Water Resource Commission. You're in the middle of something. You probably figured that out already. But I guess the question I had, and Mr. Holton, you made a comment. If this project doesn't go ahead, and I know there are different drain chapters from sitting up here for a few years, and I don't want to get into all of that, but I understand that part of the reason this drain never got cleaned out is because there was never money. And there wasn't money because you collect $5 from everybody who's in this district because of the kind of drain it is. So I want to be clear, because Mr. Holton said if this doesn't happen now with this project, that the taxpayers will pay for it because the Drain Commissioner's Office will go ahead with it. They haven't gone ahead with it for 60 years. You've said that it's been 10 years or some number of years, many years you've been working on it. And I just want to get an understanding so the facts are out there. Will the Drain Commissioner's Office be able to move ahead with a drain project if this falls by the wayside and this applicant doesn't do the project? Will you be able to levy some sort of an assessment on all of the drains given the kind of chapter drain it is now? Because my understanding is that unless the township authorized a change in the chapter of drainage, it didn't turn it over to you to do this project, or it would have been done 60 years ago or 40 years ago or 20 years ago or last year. You're waiting for someone to pay the bill because you can't force us to pay for it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We would be down to just incremental maintenance,
So
which would
that's
take a very long time.
And obviously, incremental maintenance is what got us to this point. But I guess, and I'm just, I'm trying to be respectful, but at the same time, we're going to talk about facts tonight. We're going to talk about the fact that no one's going to make the people here pay for this drain. No one's going to make them pay for it, right? It's not possible. It's not legal.
It has to be repetitioned.
Which it would cause.
To be a Chapter 20.
Right, we would have to authorize that.
Yes.
So we're not authorizing it, so no one here is paying for this drain. Right, it's not like it's not changing tonight.
Yeah,
So-
I want to be clear. There's limits on ordinary maintenance with these old agricultural drains. And so without a major project,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about. So
What
they're still
yeah.
being assessed, but it's for
So
minor
this
things.
$2 million or $3 million is not going to be spread across these folks' properties. It's not going to happen unless we let it happen. And I find it super hard to believe that it's going to be allowed to happen. So we're really back to where we started, which is who's going to clean the drain, because it's not going to be these people. I just want to make sure that that's pointed out, because it was kind of a big thing I heard in Mr. Holton, and I'm not trying to correct you. There were a lot of factual things perhaps that came out, but that was not a fact. That was hyperbole, I believe. Thanks.
John, I have some questions. I don't know if we're ready for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's open.
I do want to state that, yes, I want the drain cleaned out. I want the ring road. So some of the comments that you brought up in your speech there seemed to be cherry picking to imply to our residents that we're somehow going back on what we had already claimed. So my support is for projects really does not mean that that I should shirk my responsibility for due diligence. And my past promises also include that I'm going to make my decisions prudently. So I have quite a few questions. My first question is, does the confluence of the existing drain and the bypass create a wildlife attractant or hazard as designated by MDOT Aero and or the FAA?
No, it would not, because it's not going to be standing water. So
Okay.
it's no more
So
of an
I would-
attractant than it is in the existing condition.
So I would need to see evidence of that determination. I would like to see flow rates and hydrology reports to demonstrate that there will be no standing water. The land use matrix states that you cannot create a large area of standing water. So I would like to see those pieces of information.
May I ask why that wasn't requested of us last month so we could have prepared that for tonight?
Because I thought about that in the preparation for this meeting.
Okay.
So also, you're so confident that this will not create a wildlife attractant, yet you or your associates have already confidently built something that is already a current violation and a wildlife attractant, and that is the existing detention basin that you have. And again, the land use matrix states you cannot create a large area of standing water. That's just...
Quick note on that is that the existing detention basin is outside of those aviation protection zones.
I spoke to somebody already regarding that today, and I was told that there is a small portion that is contested. So I would recommend then that you make sure that you have spoken with the airport on that. But I spoke to them today, and I was told that the existing pond does have a slight segment of it. I forgot the corner of it, but that was through my research with talking to the airport today. It also...
I believe Township Engineer had a comment.
I would just like to comment on that. From conversations and meetings with the Director of Aviation. From conversations and meeting with the Director of Aviation at Oakland County, the existing pond is acceptable to them. I just wanted to note that.
Okay, because that's not exactly what I was told today, but if that, in the conversations that you've had, that she has said that it's acceptable.
Yes, but they do have concerns for the proposed Pond C.
Yes.
And so we're working through that in the review process, so I just wanted to state that for the record. Okay.
Okay. It appears that portions of the bypass may fall within the airport's land use zoning and airport approach plan. Have there been any hazards identified that would affect compliance with the airport?
So once the bypass drain is constructed, the normal flow of water will be through the existing drain, not through the bypass. The bypass is to handle the overflows, the flooding events there. And once the flooding event has passed, there'll be no water standing left in that channel because there's nothing feeding it from the upper reaches on that, right? So all the normal flow follows the existing drain channel as it is.
Okay, so you're saying that there are no hazards?
There would be no hazards because
Okay.
there's no standing water.
So I would need to see proof of clearance, whether it's from the airport, the county, the state, or possibly all three. My next question, does the walkway bridge conform to the airport approach plan?
The walkway bridge will have absolutely no impact to the airport approach plan other than the crane that would be required for construction on that, and that will be coordinated with the FAA for an aeronautical study, and it effectively will end up closing the airport for a week while that bridge is physically installed.
Okay, so do you have support and evidence that indicates that the walkway itself is going to conform to the airport approach plan?
The walkway itself does not exceed any height limitations. It's,
Okay. Do you
it's
have
lower
that
than a
in-
person.
Do you have a letter to indicate that?
No, it's not something that is subject to their review. It doesn't reach any height requirements. It's less than height than the person who's going to be walking on the bridge.
All right, so I'm not an aviation expert, so that's why I'm asking for these experts to review that. I do see that several airspace studies have been initiated, and most of them are in the evaluation or studying status. And when do you expect a determination for the rest of them? I did notice today that one has...
Some of them are starting to trickle in as they are currently. The ones that you see right now are for
The culvert replacements is part of the cleanout project on the airport property, also involving excavators and cranes.
Yep.
So I think there's at least a dozen of them out there currently, and they'll trickle in here over the next few weeks, over the next month, as it takes the FAA to get to them. But effectively, those determinations will say the same thing. We need to close the airport in order to construct the culvert that goes through the airport.
Right.
So all of this is in line. The airport's been involved in the entire process of the planning. Obviously, we're doing work on the airport itself. So. Okay.
So what is a rough estimate as to when those determinations will come through?
I can't tell you how quickly the government will work.
Right. I know. I really didn't think that you would be able to answer that one, but I was just curious. Now, I also noticed that I couldn't find any airspace studies east of Milford Road within the last 180 days. Do you anticipate submitting any of those, especially or specifically for our
So we
township property?
already have a study for the crane to do the culvert replacement on Milford Road. That one's already been issued. We've worked through that. So that's complete. The only additional one that will be required prior to the erection of the bridge will be for the crane to install the bridge itself.
So that would have to happen after this approval process?
After this, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's part of the construction process.
Okay. So just going back with the airport, so we're required to incorporate the airport approach plan in our master plan. And so we have an obligation to protect the airport and the land around it. So I have a special place in my heart for the airport. I've been taking my kids down there for their open houses, and we've been up in the plains, and we've been to the museum there. But imagine my surprise and dismay when I noticed all the trees that have already been cut on airport property. And my question is, were airspace studies done for all of that work?
There was no determination necessary for the removal of the trees on the airport property as determined by the airport itself. It's all been done as a manned operation with chainsaws, no equipment, and therefore no determinations were necessary to lower the height of the vegetation on the airport.
So when you say lower the height, I mean, they're like 18 inches.
They're cut down.
Yeah, they're cut down.
Yes. And that's part of the drain cleanout project. The trees that were required to be removed based off of the cleanout grading, and they were removed. Select trees were left in place as they could be worked around.
Okay, and so all of the trees that remain, that in piles along the drain?
Will be cleaned up later this summer as the drain cleanout project
So is
proceeds.
Is this how you're going to do work in our community?
Thank you for your questions. Do you have any further?
I'm asking you this question. Is this how you're going to do work?
South Hill Business Park West has been a part of the community for over a decade, for decades. You've already seen the work we've done to improve the drain along our own property, the work we've promised to do tonight along the township road and along the township property. While I understand your continued frustration with the project, I also know that frustration has sometimes bled into personal attacks. And so
I did not have personally attacked
and
you.
so
I did not personally attack you.
And so I understand your concern. I think the work by South Hill Business Park speaks for itself.
Yes, there are piles and piles of trees left after those trees were cut
And
down
I believe,
with chainsaws, apparently.
And I believe
they're
that.
Not going, can I finish? Because you've had your moment. I'm asking you a question and you've dodged it. By the way, to whoever did comment about me being disrespectful, I'm trying really hard not to be disrespectful at this point. I'm frustrated, sir. You have left piles and piles of trees at the airport property. I walked it. I saw it. So my question to you, is this how you're going to do work in our community? You touted your work and how amazing it looks on your property. I'm asking how you're going to do work on our property because you've left an obscene amount of trash on the airport property.
Hi, I'll speak to that. Okay, so that's our drain cleanout contractor that had done that. That's fairly typical when we're doing handwork and coming through and taking down the trees. We put them up on the bank, we get them up out of flow. We do that oftentimes with our woody debris management. And then when you come back with the excavators, you come back and you really break it all down and haul it out. So all the materials coming out.
So you leave it until the summer?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So again, I'm going to ask that question of, this is what we can expect for the work within our community that is not on Walbridge property. Okay, so then I go to the...
So I believe he has an answer.
Hey, just a quick second, Lise. So the work that has occurred for the drain cleanout to this point, where we dropped the trees, those were dropped prior to the BAT deadline for tree removals, right? They had to come down, but the actual construction and cleanout of the drain project was not quite ready yet. We're past that deadline now for the work to be done on the township property. So those trees can't come down at this point in time, right? So when we are ready to proceed with the actual grading work, those trees will then be removed. And because they'll be removed at the time where we're having excavators and everything do the actual construction there, those trees would be removed at the time that they come down to get out of the way of the grading operations. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense to me. Thank you. So I have zero faith in your ability to reasonably repair the area as identified in item 7 on this construction easement document. I would recommend that the agreement would include some firmer language, including but not limited a specific time frame for satisfactory compliance. I believe my last item is the compensation for only $1 is unacceptable for this temporary easement. I'm just curious as to whether or not a tree survey has been done to establish the reasonable valuation of these trees and perhaps come up with a better calculation, perhaps something closer to a navigation easement and the calculations that the airport has done in the past for trees that they've had to take down. And if that's not something that would be appropriate, then perhaps a consideration or consider a contribution to the township's tree fund. And that concludes my comments and questions.
Out of curiosity, would the construction of the drain at no cost to the township not be adequate consideration?
No. That concludes my comments and questions. Thank you,
Okay,
John.
let's refrain, please. All right. Anyone else? Chris, you have anything you want to talk?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Sure. All right. So I guess my questions are a little bit more detailed with the easement documents and some of the exhibits. The CES review letter was asking about, was requiring bridge foundation design reviews from CES and building department. Have those been completed?
No, not at this time. We have received the documents from them, but they haven't been reviewed. I have to coordinate that with the building official and discuss who's going to be performing that work. So we have what the applicant has prepared. It just has not been reviewed in detail.
Who will be inspecting the work? Is that, Jeff, is that your office who's out there during construction, or is that the township? Or?
Yes, that's correct, although there's various roles within this. As I pointed out, there's 16 permits essentially, so differing roles, differing responsibilities.
And I guess of those 16 permits, how many of those are in place or set? Because I know there's a sequence that some of them cannot be done until the construction's done. I guess I'm just trying to get an understanding of how many of the ones that should be done prior to construction have been completed.
So there's essentially 5, but one of them is the road commission. That works out to essentially 10. So some of them are soil erosion that I'm counting under this, so you actually need a contractor on board. So I believe the count is 4 that are truly approved, and then others that are essentially waiting on other activities to be complete.
Okay. I think, just so for my clarity, there was Eagle permits discussed within the documents. I think you guys actually submitted like 20-some documents, so it was a lot to go through. And then there were some statements that said the Eagle permits are not required. I guess I just wanted clarification on that, Eagle permitting.
So the Eagle permit that was submitted is for the construction of the bypass channel itself and the wetland impacts that were associated with the overall development. That is approved, it's in place. We've already, in fact, constructed half of the bypass channel as we are today. The the Eagle permit or lack of Eagle permit for the drain cleanout work falls under the drain office's jurisdiction for drain maintenance operations, and therefore it is exempt from Eagle permitting activities. The culvert replacements on the airport and under Milford Road are under Eagle's jurisdiction, so there will be a separate permit for those, but that is not part of this particular application. That's a separate permit process.
Okay. Jeff, you mentioned the 433 agreement. That would have to be sent after construction to add more lands to the drainage district?
Yes, but the process is you can get in place with that and actually sign the legal agreement once the flows are known and once the change of the land is known.
Okay. I know we have a sewer relocation as part of this, so there's a Part 41 permit application that has to be approved. Has that been applied for?
It's in discussions with the township right now. We've got to put together a plan for operation of the pump station system for that force main while it's down for the
Bypass
lowering.
pumping?
Yep, so it's being coordinated with the township engineer and all the associated parties with that, and that permit will be going in as soon as everyone is satisfied with the operational plan.
Okay. This one, Patty, you might be able to answer this too, but the Oakland Trailway Management Council, have they looked at the bridge design and everything? So they know that's part
No,
of
not
this
yet.
too?
It has
yet.
not come before us yet.
Okay. I did notice just that. Oh, go ahead.
On that subject, since you brought it up, after the vote tonight, we would like to get clarity on what that process looks like for the bridge review and approval through the committee. I think there's a little uncertainty about exactly what that process looked like, whether it's a approval here at the board or it's a separate body, and what that process looks like. So if we could discuss that afterwards.
Okay. And I just, speaking of the bridge, there were a couple different designs. I mean, they're close, but I think one was 9 inches longer than the other, and the weights were different. But just whatever would be attached to the easement document, I think that would be part of the permanent easement document then, just making sure that those align.
So there's a couple different documents. There's the easement use agreement, which would include the final approved plans for all the bridge stuff. That would be part of that easement use agreement. The permanent easement agreement won't include any of the bridge information. It's just about the drain.
Okay. What is so you described some of the construction that started between Milford and Martindale. What is the, I guess, construction schedule for that? So are you guys moving from Martindale eastward for the grading? And I know you've already done a portion north of Detention Basin B at the business park, and we're kind of in the middle.
Right. So at this point, the clean out work will begin at the downstream end down at Martindale and work its way eastwards. They're due to the timing on airport closures for the work. There may be several segments that are undergoing it at one point in time. Obviously, it's a very long stretch of work there, but the clean out and then the replacement of the culverts and then the physical connection of the new bypass channel to it. Now, the bypass channel can be constructed while all of the rest of this is going on, but there'll be an embankment left in between them until it's physically accepted as a county drain, and then the embankment will be removed to make the connection.
And our easement covers that connection, or the temporary easement.
Yes,
would be right at that connection point. If I'm reading that right.
At the convergence.
Okay. So what would, if we were to grant this temporary easement, what would be the timing in terms of construction? I know I wasn't here at the last meeting, and we missed.
So
the tree
grant of the
window.
easement does not actually authorize any work to physically proceed. Grant of the easement gives the right for the contractor to do that once all the permits and everything are in place. We have technical approval on the bypass plans itself, so all of that is in place. We've first on the list of the conditional items is getting this easement in place here, right? So once we have all of those permits in place and everybody's ready to proceed forward here, The construction would commence this summer on the bypass area in coordination with the clean-out process working from west to east. Which it's a very big project. It's, you know,
Sure.
it's 2 miles long, right? It takes a big chunk of time. So we're looking at summer into fall, hopefully having everything more or less wrapped up here by Thanksgiving. There are going to be components that drag on further based on timing on when the bridge can be delivered physically to the site versus other components that are in process. Obviously, we can't place the bridge before the drain is constructed. So,
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Robert, you got any?
So, well, okay, I'll start with that timeline piece, I think. So I guess I'm a little confused on how this piece can be done this summer if we already missed the tree clearing deadlines.
very good question. So obviously we've missed the tree clearing window at this point in time, so we'll have to undergo some additional studies for habitat assessments for bats. We will review the trees, we'll do some acoustic studies. All of that will be submitted to U.S. Fish and Wildlife to determine if there are any species there. If they are discovered, then this would be postponed till the fall after the tree clearing deadline lifts, and then we can drop the trees and commence with that grading.
Okay, so essentially that the early April date is more of a, you can just go in.
You can drop them without worry because the bats haven't migrated back to the area yet.
After that, you have to demonstrate.
Now we've got to demonstrate that there are not, ideally, right? But if they are discovered, then it would simply wait till October.
Okay. How long does it take to do those kinds of studies?
The studies, obviously, there's different ones that can be done. It's the study itself doesn't take that long to do, but the data analysis on those studies takes a little bit longer, and then getting concurrence with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Our intention would be to start those studies later this month here. We're also limited by how early we can start doing the study because they want to make sure that we didn't study it prior to their ability to have migrated back, right? So there's some time frames associated with that, but we would expect to be starting those studies by the end of the month here. And working through that with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, depending on the results.
Okay. Related to that whole timing thing too, at least from the copy that's in the packet here of, I think it's the soil erosion permit. There's an expiration date on there of June 1st of this year.
Yep.
So do you just have to go back and
soil erosion permits are routinely renewed and extended. In fact, with Oakland County Water Resource Commission. Once the project has commenced, the permit doesn't expire. It's just automatically renewed and extended by the field inspectors.
Okay. Let's see, what do I have here? Mr. Holton, sorry, I didn't get your first name earlier on, but you had mentioned, asking, for taking our comments last time and trying to put together the materials that we'd asked for. One of the things I'm not seeing is I believe we had talked about wanting to see some plans around what the restoration work would look like. And I could have missed it in the 20-some documents, but I could not find any of that.
So that's part of the soil erosion control plan. There's seed mixes in there to Oakland County standards as far as the restoration of the channel in disturbed areas. I believe it uses the RCOC roadside seed mix for any of the upland areas and banks, and then there's a stormwater mix in there for the channel component to it.
All right.
And Ms. Blades, I believe that also addresses your concern regarding number 7, restoration of property. It is bound under the contract by the approved construction plans as well as the soil erosion control stabilization requirements.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't know which document that's in, but I will.
It'll be in the engineering plans for the bypass set.
Okay, so it wasn't necessarily in what I had in front of me.
Engineering plans for the bypass plants are in the packets that are submitted. I know there's a lot of documents
Okay,
there,
yeah,
and
that's-
there's, within that one, there's also an abundance of information for you, so.
Okay. All right. Let's see. What else did I have? I will probably think of some more things by the time we're done, but I don't. I'll let someone else go for now.
Thanks, Robert. Anyone else?
Not at this point.
All right, so I think what we're going to do, Leslie, do you have anything to add to the conversation? Go ahead. No, please.
Sorry.
Please, no.
Couple things.
Go ahead.
Just to be clear, this board and board members before this board and board members before this board have all wanted the drain to be cleaned out. And the reason why we never had put that forth is because we didn't have the money personally in the township coffers, and we never wanted to put it on the backs of our residents. So Sean is 100%. We've begged, borrowed, and stealed, and we've asked many, Walbridge for sure, to clean it out. But my question is, and I agree with Lisa, never offered us a penny for it. We pay for all our easements. Every easement we pay for. Another thing is, who designed the bypass? And I know you answered that it cannot be done in the regular drain clean out. But why don't you use your own property? Why do you need our property? You have a lot of property over there. You could reduce.
Absolutely, we are. In fact, we are using our property.
I know. I see the other drain.
Walbridge's land for the drain bypass comprises of over 6.3 acres of land. The township property, unfortunately, you guys own the trail property, and the trail separates the Walbridge property from the actual crossing of Milford Road. We can't change that location there, so we have to get from one side to the other side, so we have to cross the trail.
Those are my questions.
Similar thing. Sorry, similar thing there. Is I think part of the long-term expense for us and short-term expense for Walbridge is the pedestrian bridge. Was it? Did it get looked at to put the convergence to the east of the trail so that we wouldn't have had to open up another large span and could have used that culvert?
Yes. So two things with that. Yes, we did look at a convergence channel going to the east side of the trail. However, that doesn't remove the necessity for the bypass to cross where it is now. It's taking the flood flows, right? So we need the bigger, wider channel, the 100-foot wide easement that comes through this space here. If we were to connect that into the existing drain, where it's at right now, you're then taking the wider channel and restricting it down to yet another smaller section.
So the size of that existing trail culvert would be the limiting factor.
It's too small, yes. Now, we can leave that existing trail culvert in place with the construction of the bypasses we have it shown here, because we're sending a reduced amount of flow through that northern loop that would be utilizing that. But going in the southern route and taking it directly to the upsized culvert at Milford Road, we eliminate some of those restrictions altogether, including that stretch of the existing channel that doesn't have enough physical space to widen it out for the capacity reasons.
Okay, and the existing non-bypass portion of the drain between east of Milford Road, is that still part of a clean-out project?
The clean-out project is going to extend up to the proposed Ring Road project, so it'll be ready to accept the Ring Road construction and culvert that they would need to place.
Okay, but not the entire length back
not
to
the
where
entire,
it would
not the
re-emerge
entire
into the
length.
bypass.
It's just up to the western crossing of the Ring Road project. Eagle wanted the rest of it left in more of a natural state, so that it was better habitat.
Anyone else right now? Okay. Okay, what I'd like to do is offer the residents time to speak. We do that. So what I'd like to do is make sure that all the residents keep it on the drain. We can't get off the drain part of this thing. We can't get into the development part. This is really all about the drain. So you're very welcome to come up and give a comment. And again, please, let's keep it focused on the drain, okay? And the drain easement.
I can take it.
Do you want to come on up?
I certainly do.
Yeah, you can come on up and ask questions. Please direct them here also, if you would.
I'm sorry?
Direct them to the board, please, too.
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Before I get started, I apologize earlier. I wasn't eyeballing you. I was wrestling an internal battle about whether I wanted to say this originally or say this now, and I'm really, really glad that I waited to say this now. My earlier statement being slightly ambiguous. To wit, it sure seems like this evening, indignance is the name of the game. It's as true with this drain easement effort as, it is largely with Project Flex, and this is very much related. Come to think of it, it's the perfect microcosm for Project Flex. It's a large company that thinks they can do whatever they want, and as evidenced by last month's meeting, they get awfully indignant when things don't go their way, including, it seems, when it comes to answering questions raised by this very board. To that end, why do Walbridge and Veris and the various parties acting in their interest continue to act with impunity whenever they are required to answer questions and provide additional information to receive the approval that they seek? The answer is because it sure looks like they don't feel like they're beholden to provide this information even though this board has required it of them. They are acting as though they firmly expect to get what they want and as though they don't think the expectations you all have identified they need to meet don't apply. Why is that? Similarly, and I asked you this earlier, how many chances do they get? They've had 3 so far, yet they continue to flaunt the stated expectations for answering questions around both the drain easement and the very related Project Flex effort. And now that we have dark money efforts creating flyers about how critical the drain cleanout effort is, without reading too much into it, or by proxy, how critical the drain easement is to the health and well-being of the residents in that area. Ignoring, of course, that there's been a plan to meet those needs for the last several years in place. Point of fact, the DDA has listed it as a major goal funded by the TIF. In other words, the need for this to happen is already beyond well known, both by this board and by the residents of Lyon Township. But only lately, because Walbridge has agreed to pay for it as part of Project Flex, has it gotten the degree of attention and scrutiny we're seeing. More to the point, these scare tactics are, frankly, insulting. As for the insistence that this project needs to happen, perhaps it does. But clearly, whatever ongoing maintenance efforts have been in place are satisfactory. Otherwise, it would have been a much larger effort before right now. At the end of the day, I've heard many times lately that the board at large has no ability to do anything about Project Flex. Here's your chance. Recognize that this drain easement is one of the many necessary steps to allow Project Flex to move forward, and deny it. Draw a line in the sand. State out loud that the vested parties have continued to underdeliver in the information they are obligated to provide. Say enough is enough. Show Walbridge and Veris and all the other vested parties who is actually calling the shots. Thank you.
And again, let's try to keep it on the drain, please. Let's try to keep it on the drain. That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hi again.
Hi.
It's good to see you again. I don't think anyone's going out for drinks after this.
Why not? Are you kidding me?
Okay. So, Jeff, I empathize with you as well, so I'm glad John mentioned that earlier. I wanted to share with you, I don't know if you know this, so I'm going to...
You really have to address the board. You have to address the board. Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Oakland County, the process for testing water, it's actually flawed. So if you want to take a bottle of water to get it tested, there's actually there's no tracking. So a random person picks up the bottle, a random person tests it, and then you're just on the cuff, and there's actually no tracking system to know if it was truly your water that was tested. But you just take it in confidence that someone took your water and brought your results back. So that's a major...
Are you talking about the drain water?
Water
okay, well,
that runs through the drain. So I'm getting to that, I understand.
Good.
So the point is, the Oakland County water testing system is completely flawed. So again, back to legal and scare tactics, we can go down that road if you really look at how that testing is physically done, period. So back to your question about the drain, if this has been in process for 10 years, who's to say what's already in place isn't the item causing the contaminants that are being found in South Lyon's water right now? And what was funny was when I scanned the room and asked who were the South Line residents, this first row didn't raise their hands. So what I'd like to encourage you guys to do as the drain employees is go back to Walbridge and get a different job because your company isn't doing a good job right now. So we need to look at the higher good in terms of the opportunities that are out there for Walbridge and companies like Walbridge to have ownership and take responsibility in the communities that they're serving. So if they are actually being responsible with the existing project that's been in place for 10 years, where is the community right now? We have contaminants right now without any further development from today as we stand. So how dare anyone ask for anything more to be done until as we stand today isn't improved. My 9-year-old isn't drinking the school water. And why am I so jarred about this? Because similar project to the drain where I grew up was flawed and my parents passed away. So we're in the early stages right now. And this message is to everybody, including the employees of the project managers, to be better and look for better solutions so none of us are having this conversation. We are all better than this. There's better solutions. We can ask AI, right? That's my point.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening again.
Okay, just so everyone knows, you guys can answer on this. We can have a back and forth if you want to. So just so everyone knows.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you all for your diligence at this point and really pressing the issue. My concern is that in the April 6th agenda item, there were several items, clarification on the funding model during the phases, which were incomplete, as eloquently as you want to state it, incomplete. The reclamation, what we just heard, is somehow that's going to be covered during some phase of this. So what does that mean? Are we talking about grass seed and that's it? I mean, you're taking down these trees, you're going to let them rot so the mice can have a little habitat. I would propose that we have a timeline starting with the ask, okay, the temporary ask, the permanent ask, and then every phase of this, and who's going to be monitoring it? It's going to be your department, Oakland County, making sure that no violations, because what I just heard, there's potentially a violation.
Hey, Frank, could you keep it this way?
And yet,
please, thank you.
I thought I was speaking loud enough. And yet, there's nothing in writing. And again, to the previous gentleman's comment about how many times are we going to allow Ferris, Atwell, Walbridge the bite at the apple? I mean, this is ridiculous. It's like, look, guys, when I was a global IT executive, I had to go out and speak to the CEO and the vice presidents of the C-suite. And if I didn't have my shit together, I got reamed big time. I was off the account. So, again, all of you are the stakeholders, as are we. We need to get these real diligent about exactly what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, when the cleanup's going to happen, moving forward. And I saw the eloquent little eye candy that you posted up as charts. I didn't see a timeline. I saw nothing of that. But hey, trust us, okay? We'll get it done, and we'll take care of it. I don't think so, ladies and gentlemen. That's it.
All right, thanks, Frank.
Hello again.
How you doing?
Fantastic. So the gentleman from Walbridge was particularly aggressive and borderlining in bulliness. So you know what? I would like to congratulate the board. You guys did a good job coming at those guys. That's the kind of fight that we need from you guys. I know you have it in you, and you really showed. It was great. So my first question, and any of you can answer this, have you seen in the last 2 to 3 years any significant uptick in the complaints of flooding in the region that they're proposing as a flood zone over the last 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, I think we do have some flooding problems, but I mean, it takes a pretty good flood. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, the 100-year floods and the 10. You know,
That's what I'm saying.
Used to be 10-year floods.
So has there been
Yeah.
Has there been a significant uptick in the frequency of the complaints?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we've had a frequency, but I
right.
do understand the FEMA, the maps and the floodplains. You know, one of the problems is anyone in that floodplain area has problems getting insurance, from what I understand. They will not insure floodplain basements. So that's something we got to care about, right?
But yes, but to Trustees O'Neill's point, this has been a problem for a very long time.
It has been, absolutely.
So my question really is, what's the rush now? Why now?
I don't think it's a rush. And I'm going to answer
Really?
you
because his
wait a
tone
minute,
was
wait a minute.
very like this is critical.
No, listen. I think it's because it's being paid for, right?
Okay.
That's become the rush, okay? No matter who's paying for it, the Drain Commission will stand up and tell you, we've had several conversations where they brought it to this board several times back when I was a trustee. I mean, I've been a trustee since 2008. And they wanted to assess the entire district. You've brought that, change it to a Chapter 20 drain, where they wanted this board to vote on a millage or an assessment that would assess the entire people on the floodplain to clean that drain.
Yeah.
And we refused to do that.
But what's the rush? Like they're going to pay for it if you do it now, but not later?
No, it's like they're given the money to pay for it, and that's why it's became a rush to the Drain Commission, because they've been looking for the money to
that's
get
what I'm
this
saying.
drain
Like
clean for all these years.
They'll give the money now, but they won't give it next year.
Absolutely.
So this is the issue. If somebody comes to you and says, "I'll pay for it now, but not next year," there's something underhanded going on.
Again, and I don't mean to be talking over you. Please,
Yeah,
if I am, tell me. But I don't think they've said that.
Oh.
Whereas they wouldn't pay for it whenever. I mean, there's the way I look at it is, Walbridge owns a large piece of heavy industrial property.
Yeah.
And one way or the other, the only way they'll ever be able to develop that is to get that drain cleaned, because it's in the floodplain too.
So another interesting point to his comments was that, well, if you guys don't do it, we'll get the county to do it anyway. I mean, do you remember, right?
The Drain Commission has
that's
been
why I
wanting
asked
to.
the county the question, and that's not happening.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because that's going to cause.
Okay.
They don't have the funds to do it.
That's right.
Oh, so
See,
I mean, that's interesting. So they weren't on the same page, because he, the Walbridge man, stood up here and told you guys the county will do it, but then the county came up and said, "Oh no, we won't."
That's why I asked the question. 'Cause
Ah.
it has to be classified as a different chapter of drain before an assessment, which was just mentioned, can move ahead, and we've
I
said
see.
no to that previously.
Many times.
see.
Many times.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
To answer your question, though,
yeah.
on the flooding uptakes, there's been at least 3 different homeowners I've met with in Road Digger Farms neighborhood. I've been in their basements and have seen their sump pump. They had a triple sump pump that was constantly going. So there are issues along the drain where there are homes that are impacted.
But my point was that those issues have been presumably persistent for a very long time. There's nothing new that has happened, except other developments. So that's new. That would be cause for an increase in your pace, I could imagine, if you had some vested interest in some other avenue. But anyway, well, thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Okay, so a comment was made that I took it as we'd still be waiting, but because they want to use that property, we're going to do the drain. So Plex.
We're not paying, the
No.
whole idea is we're not paying for it.
I think you might have said that I can't remember how he worded it, but it was kind of out there, but since the property was going to be developed, now we have to do it. That kind of statement was made. And so if Plex wasn't being put there, we wouldn't be doing this drain. We'd still be waiting for the money. Also, when were all these flood studies done? And personally, the maps were great, but I couldn't read them. I had no idea what you guys were talking about, where the streets were, what the yellow line meant. Somebody should have been up there, because I don't know if I was the only one, or did anybody else understand? Anything that you showed us was totally over our heads. You all know it, but we don't. So I don't even know where this drain's going or why it's going. It sounds like it's just an overflow. So we're doing all of this as an overflow. Okay? You explained to me how the township works, that you collect all the taxes and then you give most of the money to Oakland County.
It does, we do.
So we've been promised a lot of money to have Plex. They're going to just shower us with money for all kinds of things. How much money is Oakland County going to get for this project? It's one of the largest. It's bigger than Saline.
Oh, I think Saline is bigger.
No.
It isn't?
No.
Oh,
It might have
really?
more property, but we have more square footage.
Okay.
So all this money's coming into us, and they're going to get half? So wow. Oakland County's up here going, let's get this drain put through. I think that's a big incentive for all this push. And if these studies were done over years, and this is an agricultural drain, do we even have any agricultural still on that drain? Do we not have subdivisions that are each required to have a retention pond that should start taking that overflow out of the drain? Maybe there's some, what's the last current study done? What, when? There's been, like I said, I don't know where you're talking. I don't know how much, what's vacant land all around it. And,
Okay.
and
Well,
could
I
these
think-
retention ponds solve the problem?
Well, I think that's something that we could make more clear, right, Leslie? You could, I mean, how can we make that clearer to everyone so that they can see what's going on?
You mean the maps? Do you want to bring them
Yeah, I
back
mean,
up?
They didn't understand the yellow on the drawing, and, you know.
I don't know if the yellow was
The yellow was a
drain or
temporary
the
easement, if
road
I'm
or
not
the ring
mistaken. Could you
road.
do that? Could you show them really quick so that they understand? I have no problem with that, and you can understand.
Well, I'd also like to know how current these studies are.
Yeah,
And-
that again, we'll
and
have to go through the engineer on that.
Does the insurance company go by the one that's in red? Or does the insurance go by the one that's in FEMA? Which one does the insurance
answer
company
this?
deny
Answer.
insurance as a
Answer, Leslie.
floodplain?
All right, give me a minute.
It has to be a FEMA adopted map for property owners to obtain flood insurance.
Hey, you walked away. We're trying to answer.
So I'm trying to answer your question.
Hey, I'm just teasing. We got it. We got it.
So
Get your answer.
while they're bringing up the maps, it has to be a FEMA adopted floodplain for property owners to obtain flood insurance.
Okay,
That's
so
my
that
understanding. Mhm.
Blue map was a lot less area than the red map looks like there's a boatload of people not getting insurance.
There's a boatload of people. That's the red map.
The FEMA plan shows a much narrower.
Correct.
We're up against the floodplain over there with the other drain that never gets cleaned up.
So this is the FEMA adopted, the map
Right.
that's on here is the
That's-
FEMA
That's
adopted.
a lot less area than the big plan.
So to give, do you want to point out the roads?
And like the other gentleman said, we just got done with a
Let
massive.
him explain to you before you ask. Go ahead and explain to what it is.
Right here's your 5 points intersection.
Okay.
Right? Milford Road coming.
Sorry.
Coming down here, Grand River coming across here, South Hill Road is over here. Okay, so that's the limits of South Hill Business Park West project right here, and the airport obviously over here.
Okay, so.
Without the source in the year though, that means nothing.
It's the effective map from 2006, which
Where does it say it?
from 2006 is the effective floodplain map managed by FEMA.
Okay.
And that is known to be inaccurate.
Okay, we don't want to yell from the audience, please. He's trying to explain.
We're trying to answer these questions as people are here.
Okay, so where is the drain at? Because I don't know what.
The drain is following this blue line here, comes
Okay.
around, down, and across.
Okay,
That's the
and
existing drain.
where is our property and where is Walbridge property that, on this map that we're discussing?
Walbridge property is essentially everything that you see, brownfield here, comes up around this arc here, and comes across over here. The temporary easement that's being requested, the bypass is coming through here, up, around, touch it again, this arc over here, and it comes straight over to the connecting point here for the Milford Road crossing. This is
Okay.
the location where the easement is needed.
Okay, and where's the trail?
The trail, it's hard to see on here, but it's this line right here that comes up, and you see where the drain does this little jog right here? That's where the existing trail crosses the existing drain, right through that section.
Okay, well, let's get someone else up because we've given a lot of time. Thanks,
But
Amy.
I mean, that's just one map. All the
That's
other
one
ones
map,
were
but
totally confusing.
Yeah. All right. All right, come on up, Robin.
Excuse me, Robin and Ellen. I don't like the fact that you just let Walbridge talk for over an hour.
I got you up here. You can talk. That's what I'm bringing you up. Come on up.
No, you had a time limit
Okay,
on
let's get to the,
residents.
let's run along here. What do you need?
Robin, though, just
All
to, can I
Yeah.
just to I know it's a lot of text on the thing of the.
I'm sorry?
The comment policy. I know it's really long, but we do have a thing in there that applicant presentations are 10 minutes, not the 3 minutes.
10 minutes?
Because I know I heard some
They just
comments
talk for an
about-
hour.
I
Well, it's an
didn't have a
important-
timer
it's an
going.
important thing,
I'm
and
just
we're trying to
pointing
get it
out
all.
that no, we don't hold them to the same
Okay,
3 minutes
all right.
because we're expecting to get information out.
I talked to that gentleman, second from the right. Asked him if he was with Walbridge earlier, and he said no. Obviously, that was not true. Okay?
He's with the Drain Commission. He isn't with Walbridge.
Okay, all right, okay. All right. Other question is, if you guys approve this drainage cleanup, that only goes to Martindale Road, is that correct?
I think right now they've got it approved from Milford Road to Martindale.
Okay. So, what happens to all the residents that live west of Martindale Road? They get flooded out?
I think that one's already been cleaned, isn't it? It's there's something going on there that.
So there's been more tree removal there.
Yeah, please, could you come up? Could you come up?
So there's
Go ahead.
minimal tree
Go
removal
talk.
in there that will be occurring. And then beyond that, it doesn't actually need the full clean out because of the grades that are in there. So when they surveyed everything, it did not need to get taken back to historic level because it's down near historic. And so we're not going to disturb that if we don't have to. We'll get a good functioning drain with that. And in terms of, I think you had said flooding out, the floodplain fix upstream, so the bypass channel, that will alleviate issues downstream. So that's why that won't be dug out as the upstream sections will be.
Okay.
Hopefully that helps.
So, this is gonna be like it was, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, where they cleaned the drain out to Martindale Road, but nothing was done other than that. So, unless you go all the way to South Lyon, you're gonna flood people out. It's gonna happen, you know? So, this is not gonna really do a whole lot, so.
Okay.
And other thing, in regards to Yeah, I know Walbridge has their right to develop or whatever, but I think that falls back on our planner. Our planning committee, whatever, should have said, you guys need to look at data centers.
Okay, well, let's keep it to the drain.
I'm sorry?
Let's try to keep it on the drain right now on the comments for the drain.
Okay. I'm just saying, our planning committee did not do their job. Okay? And one other thing, I know it's not on the agenda, but when it comes to the recall,
okay, keep it on
we're
the
in
drain,
a war. John, we're in a war, and there's collateral damage in a war. There's members on the board that I would not want to see recalled, but collateral damage. So that's our only option.
I got it. Thanks. Okay, so
John, before we go on, I'm gonna, if you could.
Okay, just really quick.
I mean, we can continue
just
the
wait
discussion,
1
but I would really like to just make a motion.
We'll put a motion on the
obviously,
table.
we can. I'm going to make a motion that in light of the presentation tonight, the discussion, the Q&A, the commentary, that the request for Township Board approval of the proposed temporary construction easement to Walbridge and permanent easement to the Water Resource Commission on township-owned parcels for the new Hudson Road bypass tree clearing and future drain bypass on parcels 21-03-352-002 and 21-03-351-026 be denied as they are not currently in the best interest of the township.
Hang on. All right, we have a motion and we have a support, and I will continue the discussion, but we do have to get wound up here. We got a lot to do here, so come on up.
I'll be brief.
Thank you.
I'll do that first. You got it? Hold my thing.
Thank you.
See if my phone's battery doesn't die. So what is being passed out to you is a copy of an email received through FOIA that was sent from CES in December of 2025. If you turn to Exhibit C, what you have is the list of owner and developer requirements for South Hill Business Park to complete the new Hudson Drain project. In the packet submitted today, there was one active permit from Eagle received in 2024, and the description said it was for a 300-acre development, blurring the lines between what's for the new Hudson Drain project and Project Flex. The Oakland County Water Commission document in the packet is for a permit application that is 57% in process and not yet granted. So what is in front of you is a high-level summary of what is still missing based on the packet, which includes permits from 5 organizations: Oakland County Road Commission, Oakland County Water Resource Commission, Western Oakland County Railway Management Council, another Eagle permit, and Oakland County Southwest Airport and FAA, which I think we kind of touched on a little bit earlier today. And although not a permit, a relocation plan for affected existing utilities. The item missing from the packet, you're being asked to approve tonight, which I appreciate the motion. In your engineer's own words, this is what's required to get the project done. Where am I going to go? That really derailed me. I feel great. This is awesome. So I guess the biggest point is that the new Hudson Drain is a necessary infrastructure project for the township, and it has been for many years, and we recognize that. And so it's important that we don't cut corners knowing how costly this is going to be. I guess I just wanted clarity, knowing that this project will have to be done at some point. And we just want to make sure that no corners are cut and we have everything in place. You mentioned earlier through the earlier discussion that some of these permits can be received before the easement, but some of them can't. Can you clarify on the list which can be received before the easement and which one of these cannot be received before an easement? So I can read those. So we have WRC, Oakland County Water Commission.
I have no idea.
We don't know. Okay.
That was one of the questions I was asking Jeff over at the Water Resources Commission, is what permits can be done prior to.
Okay. So we still don't know, so that would be a conversation for later. Okay, so knowing that, I do appreciate the tabling of the easements until we know, and we can have all of our ducks in a row. And then I guess I had a whisper in my ear, and I just wanted to share because they ran out of time. Municipal bonds seem like a cool idea. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Okay, I actually have, this is related to, so my point of confusion in the past has been that the DDA TIF plan that was, the development plan that was adopted last year included a line item for cleaning out the new Hudson Drain. I'm looking at it right now, and it's got a future cost, although in 2024, 2025, for $4,623,000 and change. Was that specific? Does anybody know? Was that only for the clean out portion that we've just heard about?
So what happened is we were able to get a TIF from Oakland County, and we had to base that on projects that the DDA would put out there. And I think all the projects together come to about $29 million. We only got $12 million. The biggest part of that was the ring road and the drain.
Okay.
So before anyone else was going to put do the drain for us, we put a placeholder in the DDA board for that TIF that we got for the $3 million to clean the drain. Now, if we spend the money to clean the drain, then that means we get no streetscapes. Our capital improvement plan for the DDA goes down the drain. Basically, their entire existence will be to put in a ring road and clean a drain. And that's why we tried to put a placeholder in there, but if it gets paid for them, then it opens up the money to do the farmers markets, the different things that they'd like to do. And that's what we're doing.
John, can I just clarify too for your
Yes.
question?
Yeah.
That projected cost was for the entire scope going all the way down to Martindale.
Okay,
so that was for the entire
entire-
scope.
$3 million, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, really quickly, you said 3 million. I'm looking at 4.6.
It was, when we proposed the TIF plan for Oakland County, it was updated to a newer number. That original 3 million was, I believe, from 2020, maybe. Originally, we inflated for the cost inflation based on when that quote was done to get it current.
Okay.
And when we thought also it could be built or cleaned out, so that we had to add inflation to that, so.
Okay. Understood. So, I mean, but we're also kind of saying like that would be the cost, right? Like that's what you would be needing to absorb, and there's an opportunity cost here, right? If we were to have paid that out of TIF or whatever, there's some other things that the DDA was hoping to do that were maybe a little more nice to have. I mean, streetscapes are great, but also, you know, it's also hard to you kind of get what you paid for sometimes if somebody else is paying for something. So, okay, that's been a point of confusion for me from the beginning. I don't know. I want you to get to the vote on the motion, so I'm going to pull the rest of my time. Thanks.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for your request for the motion. I do appreciate that. I do have a few things to say, though, that I was going to comment on prior to that, but I'm still going to say it. So just for clarification, when listening to Walbridge's presentation, CES is not our township engineer, correct? They're a contracted consultant with the township.
But they do act as our legal township engineer.
Correct. But the way they were weighting that, to me, felt like they were an actual physical employee of the township and not a consultant. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that for those in the room that may not be aware of that. And I've been up here and I've said multiple times that township infrastructure is a shit show. But this all feels slimy and not worth it to me. It feels like kind of a we scratch your back kind of quid pro quo, thank you. The drain bypass equals the ring road, which we all want, equals the project that shall not be named. So thank you specifically. I was at the last meeting, so thank you specifically to Trustee Blades and O'Neill for speaking up for the constituents. This is what we've wanted all along when you've said your hands are tied in regards to Project Flex. Just push back in the least. So just a reminder that the board works for us, Walbridge, and Walbridge mentions that the cost to the township, well, we're not for sale. And I think like you need to make that very clear tonight with your next vote.
Stephanie, for the record, Lyon Township resident. I just also want to be clear, my comments aren't opposition to the drain. It's just based on what's actually submitted in front of you. I think, honestly, the letter that Leslie updated on April 30th, addressed to the board, I know some of you may or may not have gotten it because I think it went in after business on Thursday, but the first thing in there says granting easements is at the discretion of the township board who owns the parcels. I think that's really clear and important because you own those parcels, and regardless of what Walbridge said last month, that's your authority to grant, and we appreciate you guys doing that. I'm going to skip over a couple of the things that have already been discussed, but there are a couple of things that have not. One of the things in this new submission is the geotechnical report that was submitted, paid for by South Hill Business Park. It explicitly states no chemical, environmental, or hydrogeological testing or analysis was included in the scope of this assessment. The report is the only subsurface investigation of the township property in question in that entire packet. And it has no environmental baseline. They didn't do the study. That same report says that what is actually planned is to do a complete excavation and removal of all the soils in the bridge abutment zone. Soils can't be reused. They have to be dropped off-site with no characterization protocol called out. The steel sheet pile cofferdams in the active floodplain, the deep well dewatering in the groundwater where there's already a PFAS discussion, and full bridge abutment foundation construction. I mean, this is major. Last month it was, well, this is all about the tree clearing. We're just talking about the tree clearing. That's not just tree clearing. That's huge. And we know the drain project is big, but focusing on this, and then, which leads me to my next point, was last month, WRP 035730 is the permit that was mentioned last month, and it was added to the packet. That permit that was claimed to cover the tree clearing only has the Walbridge parcels on it. The township parcels are not on that permit. So, and in Walbridge's April 8th response to CS confirms that the bypass contractor and Project Flex contractor are the same entity. So they intend to coordinate stockpiling decisions together to facilitate overall development construction. Last month, this board was told by Walbridge, and again tonight we were told by Walbridge, these are two separate projects. They have nothing to do with each other. Their own letter says that they're stockpiling and ordering all the materials together, and they're storing it on property. I don't know how many of the 16 permits they mentioned tonight actually involve the township parcels versus the Walbridge parcels. It would be great if they could have that broken out. And I would say 4 weeks later, I know O'Neill, Swain, and Blades, you guys asked for a lot of data. None of that was updated. I know some of that's been covered. So I think April 6th set the standard. I just respectfully ask that this to be tabled or denied. I also want to require that the applicant submit a complete final packet prior to release of the agenda. The amount of documents that got updated after the agenda was posted, it over doubled. And even all the board members didn't have time to review it, and I think that's not right in this case. There's a lot of data. I know, Mr. Enlow, you made that comment as well. There's a lot of documents in there. And some of them are Project Flex plans. Some of them are a permanent easement. Now it's a temporary easement to cover the permanent easement. All of the old documents are in there, and I understand, but can there be an archive folder? Because I don't know what you guys are voting on. Are you voting to approve the full packet? Because that includes a lot more than what we're talking about. Are you only voting for the easement instrument? And if so, which exhibits are attached to that? It's not clear. There's no scope document in here to say exactly what it is. And I understand there's a lot of background data that's being included, and that's important, but it's not clear what is legally binding to the actual easement. So if that could be clarified so that we can all understand it better, I think it would be helpful for you as well. And, you know, without too much cheek, I would just say if this doesn't get approved tonight, I think it's disingenuous to say that that is on us or this board. You guys are working your butts off. I think if it doesn't get approved tonight, it's because they didn't submit a full packet. And that was not a very good thing for them to bring up to you. And I respect you. Thank you.
My name is Jason Middleton, Lyon Township. I live west of Martindale. And my question is, if you're going to allow a company to drain their property into our ditches, as you get down, the two drains come together by my house. None of that's been discussed to clean anything from Martindale the other way. This last rain we had a few weeks ago, that thing was almost at the top. what's gonna happen when you start draining all their water into this water down to where it can't drain any faster because it's not cleaned out? I think before anybody should be allowed to drain their property, we need to get the rest of the drain fixed first that can handle it. There's a long ways between Martindale and Pontiac Trail, and I don't know how far the township goes that way. That's totally grown up. You know, it does need to be fixed. I agree with that 100%, but what's gonna happen to us downstream when all this starts draining? So, yeah. Thanks, Jason.
Hi, Justin, Lyon Township. I had a question about something the engineer had mentioned, talking about the current retention pond. He had made a comment that he had gotten an okay for where that's currently located. Is the current retention pond compliant as is, or does it need to be altered to become compliant?
Would you like me to answer that, John?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now, the current pond may or may not get modified.
Okay.
So right now there's. I'm trying to give some additional information. So we have the Project Flex site plan submittal, and then we have South Hill Business Park West. So that pond falls under South Hill Business Park West, and it has not been approved, and the airport is not in favor of Pond C. So the applicant will have to, in my opinion, modify the plans to satisfy the airport.
And even with the existing retention pond, in discussions with MDOT Aero this week, they were citing on the fact that it is absolutely not compliant from a state level.
But the director of aviation for Oakland County finds the existing pond acceptable.
They still have to comply with the airport approach plan put forward by the state that the FAA sets guidelines for.
I'm just giving you the information that I have. So my contact regarding the airport is the director of aviation for Oakland County.
Okay.
And so she's the one who deals with the upper rules, the state and federal level.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. I'm really trying to get wrapped up here. So.
My first question is in regard to the drain agreement.
Hey, could I get your name?
Julie Lynn.
Julie, okay.
So when the drain, when we requested a FOIA for the drain agreement, everything was redacted except for the fact that it's only costing us $1. That seems a little suspicious. And so we'd like to understand why there's not more transparency if there's nothing to hide. I would also like to just name what we all just heard, which is fear-mongering, that if they don't get their way, our homes are going to be flooded. That's called bullying. And I appreciate the trustees tonight who are deciding to put people over corporations because we deserve that. And while they may make political donations to whomever, I'm not saying to you, but that's what corporations can do. I appreciate that you are standing up for us because that is what we deserve. Thank you.
Julie? Oh, sorry. Julie, could you just clarify, about the which document you were referring to?
Yeah.
Because if you're saying the actual easement agreement, it's in the packet. So I guess I'm just.
Let me go.
Okay.
Pull it up, and I'll.
Just curious.
Yeah.
John, I'm going to call the question after Mr. Lavoie.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and get this done. Come on up.
Yeah.
Come on up.
Okay, before my
now don't
clock
be mad
starts,
tonight.
Before my clock starts, can we put up the map that they were talking about?
Yeah.
You put up a different one, and I want that one explained to me.
Which one are you talking about?
The one they had up with the coloring, not that one. The one they've been we're talking about
That
when
one
they were
there?
up there all the time.
That one or the?
No, they had what was the one with the color and the big old curve.
Oh, it's our.
Oh, the easement.
The
You're
one they were
talking about the
talking
easement
all the
one?
time about.
Okay.
I'm just a commenter. I don't understand it. That's what I want. The original map that they had up there. There we go.
Okay.
I'd like that explained. What is it? Where is it?
Do you want me to explain this?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try to be loud for everybody. So this property here,
First of all, where's the drain?
the existing drain is right here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Now I guess I got too close to it. So the township owns the property that the trail is on. We purchased that a couple of years ago from the DNR.
You own the drain. Does the township own the drain?
No.
Who owns the drain?
It's under the jurisdiction of Oakland County Water Resources Commission.
That's who owns it, okay.
Yes. Okay. So this property is the Huron Valley Trail property, and that's one of the properties that the Walbridge is asking for an easement. And then the other property line is right here. It's this very odd shaped parcel that the township owns. This is the parcel the township owns. And this is the property line. So the highlight in this green color is the easement area that's being requested. That's on township property.
Okay.
This part of the bypass is on the Walbridge property. But where the existing...
Excuse me. You mean the proposed bypass that is on Walbridge property?
Yes, I'm sorry. I misspoke. So this proposed bypass is on the Walbridge property, and then it would, if it's constructed, it would connect with the existing new Hudson drain here. And this is the existing location of the drain under Milford Road. There's a
Okay.
large culvert.
Where's Grand River in all this?
Up there.
Up there. So this is south of Grand River.
This is Milford.
Okay, where's the old railroad tracks?
Right here. This is
That's
the
it?
trail.
It's the trail? Okay.
And this is so this is where the bike path right here enters Milford Road down here.
Okay.
So you probably see a
So
lot of people parking at the
part of this drain is on their property?
The proposed, yes. The proposed drain.
Why in the hell are we doing it now and it hasn't been done before? Why now has it got to be done?
Well, again, we've been talking about that question. Nobody could afford to pay for the drain cleanout. We didn't want to assess anyone in the township to clean that drain. $3 million, right?
Okay. Well,
So now they decided that they wanted to
out of
do
the
this drain
goodness of their
cleanout.
heart, they want to do it? Or what?
What's that?
Out of the goodness of their heart, they want to clean it?
Who said that?
Okay, if this gets cleaned, do they have the right to dump water in there from this AI center?
I don't know about the AI center, but they have the right to put water in the drain, yeah. I mean, it's made to drain the township area.
What, from their parking lots or whatever?
Yeah,
I mean,
probably. They have retention ponds probably set up on the
You know,
property and
you're going to be dumping all this water, the people down the road are going to get flooded. That's what
They
I'm
could.
curious.
Well, let's, Paul, are you almost done here? Because I want to just try to move on if we can.
Okay, is
But,
there
I mean,
a
if-
timeline for this?
Well, we'd
What are
like
they
to get
doing with
moving
all
on.
the stuff they dig out?
Okay. What's that?
What do they do with all the stuff they're removing?
Okay, they probably
Where
have
does it
to haul
go?
away. That's the drain commission. That's their
Yeah,
property.
that's the tight easement in there, that's why it has to get hauled out, because it's so narrow.
Hauled out where? To a dump?
Yes.
Or on your property?
Landfill, it's going.
Okay, to the landfill. All right. All right, last thing I want to say is thankful to all of you that have the knowledge, the brains, and how to look up to challenge all this and the technicality, because I'm just a commoner. In the next damn meeting, I want a seat like that instead of these damn things.
Come on up.
These
We can
suck.
trade. We got to get moving on here. So
I'm going to move to call the question. And the motion was for denial of the request.
okay, we have. Do you need to add something? Or are you good? Could you just real quick, please? I appreciate it. I'm trying to give everybody a time at the mic here, and I'm trying.
I get it. I already erased two of my questions. They seem to
Thank
be
you,
answered.
Heidi.
My name's Heidi. I wanted to put on the record, John, you and I have talked before about the five-corner drainage several years ago that was rerouted to the drain, caused issues for residents there. I had a $13,000 pylon bill that my foundation started sinking because additional water dumped into the drain. Apparently Stephanie already answered my question that there's no study been done how many more gallons of water are going to be dumped in from the Walbridge property. I also heard comment that they can't develop their property without this drain connection. Can't they put in a detention pond?
Yeah, I think they have several on site already.
Okay.
But, you know,
The drain, the way that the soils are on site, they will not function properly without the outlet, which would be the new Hudson drain, being improved.
Okay, so for them to develop the property, they're going to cause water issues for residents.
That's not what I said. What I said is the drain would need to be cleaned out. The bypass would be necessary for capacity for them to develop this land, regardless of what it is.
Can't they develop it with a detention pond?
Well, a detention pond, they're different. A retention pond
Right.
infiltrates in the ground. A detention pond detains
Holds
the
it.
water, and then it releases it at a slower rate. That is what's proposed.
Okay, so they could develop the property, they just would have to use their own property.
No, it won't work. The soils are not conducive to a retention basin. So it
So
will
then
not
they couldn't
function.
develop the property.
Right.
Okay, but that shouldn't be the residents' property downstream. And Jeff, I'm glad to see you made it back. I left a message in your office before April 15th when you were out of the office regarding the letter you sent. Still waiting to hear back from you.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead. You called the question. We have a motion to deny. We have a support. And, we're going to get this through.
In pertains to your vote, can you guys take, because of the conflict of interest, null this proposal and open bid to the public, use the TIF funds, and just...
Okay, we can't talk about that right now. We got to get, let's get to the motion. Well, let's get to the motion.
Call the question on the motion.
All right, who made the support? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, sounds good. All right, we're going to move on to new business, and the first part of new business is the approval of the supervisor's appointment downtown. And I have Tim Miner, who's been on that board before, and I'd like to appoint him to the DDA.
Okay.
I'll support your motion.
Okay, can we please have quiet, please? Everyone, hey, everyone, please. We can't hear up here. We're trying to get through this. If you want to talk, you can go out into the hallway. We got to continue. Thanks, everybody. Okay, did you make a motion to appoint him?
Did you make a motion?
Yeah, I made a motion to appoint Tim Miner.
Made the motion, I was gonna second.
Sounds good. I'll make the motion to appoint Tim Miner to the DDA.
Repeat that from the beginning, I couldn't hear that.
I know, that's okay. All right, I have the next new item is the approval of the supervisor's appointment to the Downtown Development Authority Board. And I would like to appoint Tim Miner to the Downtown Board.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have a Downtown Authority DDA request for township support. Alyssa, how you doing?
Elisa.
I know,
Thanks.
Lisa, I can never get that
I know,
right.
no one can. You're in the majority, John. So thank you, Board, for allowing me to come tonight. I know we had put in your packet a description of what I want to talk about and some pictures. Do you have the pictures?
Which one?
Just kind of the background, as Amy said, we're just about to get started putting together a 2027 budget and what projects we're going to be working on in 2027. And so one of the issues that we've kind of been struggling with over the past few years is starting to develop a project and then getting engineering and planning involved, and then having the project derailed. And so we don't want to move forward with a project unless we really feel like it's going to move forward. So we have 3 projects that I have on this proposal tonight. The commonality between all 3 of them are they're projects that we would like to do on property that is owned by the township. So before we spend any more time on developing any of these projects, we want to know whether or not the township is even interested in these projects, and so could we actually move forward with them? Project, any questions? Did you? It's kind of, that's what's in the packet.
When you say townships, these are all properties owned by the township. Just, I know this has been a question in the past. Were you able to clarify and determine definitively that it is held by the township and not the DDA?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. We have worked very hard to figure that out because
I know
that's
that's been a
absolutely
point of
critical. And
confusion in the
yes,
past.
these are township-owned properties.
Thank you.
Can I make one comment before you go on?
Go ahead.
Every piece of property is township owned by the residents of the
True.
township. So it's collaborative between doing the best we possibly can do for the township residents. So any township property is owned by everybody, DDA, township, so I mean. it's all
Correct. So there's some townships some properties that the DDA owns in some capacity as well as the township, and other ones just the township owns. So the DDA is not on any legal document, I guess, is how we would just discriminate that difference.
I think, and the point, just sorry to interrupt, the point you're trying to make, John, I think, is that it's all the public's property.
It is. It's all the public's property.
On it, it's the public's
But in
property.
terms of why I'm here today
Sure.
is because The DDA is not on anything legal. The DDA doesn't have, the DDA typically works on developing properties that it owns. The DDA does not own this property, so I'm coming to ask you if you are interested in us working on this project, because if you're not interested in us doing that, then that would be a waste of our time and the township money, and we do not want to do that. Okay, so project number 1 is, I think I've come to you before about this, the art park, and it is actually in our 2026 budget allocated $25,000 for the art park. So we have preliminary, it's right in this location on the curve on West New Hudson Drive. Kind of that area backs out to the airport. So it's not really developable for much. And so Brian had put these together. Do you know the dates on these, Brian? At all?
March of 25.
Okay, so a year ago. He developed a couple of these for us. We asked him kind of, if we wanted to propose an art park, what could that look like? And we also were looking at this bench design as well by, is it Noble Winds, I believe is the company? So there's this one, and then, can you go to the next one? So he created a couple of these for us. The $25,000 that's currently allotted for the project probably would, honestly, I think we probably would need about $30,000 just to do the area by the sidewalk. So what we're discussing is kind of just that beautification next to the sidewalk, actually. So I think this art park, ideally in the future, would be great to do an art park. Do we have funds or to do that? No. So one of the things that we have in our budget is fundraising $25,000 for this. So I don't want to start approaching businesses asking, hey, can you help us raise funds for this? And then you guys say, you know what, that's really not where we want to put that, or we don't really want that here. So that is kind of the request that's out there. That is this of interest for us to move this project forward or not? Either way, so we have direction as to how to proceed. Does that make sense in terms of the question out there?
And are you asking for feedback as we go, or are you just posing these for like some consideration and thought, and then like a later discussion, just so
I think there's 3 of them. We could do each of them individually. They each have their own issues. So some of the questions are kind of geographical. This one is pretty much just geographical. Some of them also have timing issues. This one doesn't really have much of a timing either. Would you like us to move forward with this? It's on our 2026 budget, or should we table this project? And some of the projects have other contingencies, such as drains. So this one also does not have any contingencies. So this is pretty much just a geographical question. The township owns this property. The DDA is not on any legal entity part of this property. So we would love to start to fundraise to put that kind of sidewalk beautification together. Is that something that you guys are interested in having us proceed with, or table, come back in 2027?
My concern in looking at it, and it looks very nice, was that you're limited in space in that area for it to really grow because of the challenges of that property, and there's no parking. And it's unfortunate that we need parking, but we don't have pathways. We're not anywhere near a point where we can get to this in a pedestrian way.
Actually, currently it is a pedestrian. Like, there's actually Robert and his friends walk their dogs quite a bit. There's a lot of actually traffic through there. So yes, it's kind of a pocket park that will not have parking. Yes, and that is of concern.
Yeah, and where I'm going with this is I think the township hall in this park are in the DDA, right? They're in the district. So funds can be spent here. I think a much better idea, because it can grow and it can have more pieces added to it. To me, I wouldn't want to box you into something so small, and I'm going to call that a marginal. You kind of lead off with saying it's a challenging or marginal piece of property. I'd rather see it here in our park, where it's already a destination, and we can put it next to pavilions. We have adequate parking. People can get here probably just as easily then on foot as they could at this area. And we've got lots of land back there for this to grow. So my concern isn't about doing one. I think it's a great idea to do one. It's just maybe not there. In my opinion, it seems like it should be in a spot where it can kind of take on a life of its own, like the Kite Festival, and grow, and not be just so limited to where now we've got them kind of maybe split up. That's a thought. My other thought was, what about the park that's behind the library. Also a big destination, got pathways starting to lead there. I know it's not in the DDA area, but you know, this is a good idea no matter where it's at in the township, right? Doing something like this, it kind of, you're here on behalf of the DDA, but when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at more globally township-wide, and you know, how can it be accessible? How can it grow? How can it be successful as well as accessible? And so those are my comments.
Thank you. I think just some response to that is, would love to do all of those types of projects. So I don't know that not doing this limits us to not being able to do those others. In working with Brian on some other projects, you know, we, Patty at one point had, you know, mentioned potentially putting a dog park up at the, you know, top of the hill in this area. And, you know, the problem is around here is the shifting. So that project kind of tanked because although this is a nice area, it's very limited by shifting. Would I want to put an art park here? We kind of had a guy up on the hill that was an art park.
Yeah, that was sort of stuck
you know,
out by
it
the
was a
highway. But there's
shifting.
plenty of acreage to where, I mean, you're asking for something that's probably not much bigger than the size of this room, or maybe twice. So we've got plenty of room for something like that on soil that isn't shifting and is not over the old landfill.
And this is the thing, we're wanting to do this with donations, so we're not going to use township money to do this. It would be asking, you know, most likely companies in the area if they would like to help us beautify that specific area, which really, yes, the property is pretty useless, I agree. So, yeah.
Well, you had said something about maybe sprucing up the area immediately behind the sidewalk and maybe limiting it to that. Didn't you mention that? Like in your,
What I'm talking about is,
Do you want me to kind of point out?
this, what I'm talking about is the $30,000, this is what we're talking about, is doing this, just this. So that is kind of the, what do you do, the depiction, or the mock-up that Brian did for, you know, because originally we said, hey, what about an art park? So at this point, I think art park is probably the wrong word for this, and it's more of a beautification along the ring road, is what I would call this. That would be funded by donated funds.
Can you go to the second one for just a second? I'll hop in just a second, Elisa.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tell me if I'm stepping. So when we originally talked about it, we had McKenna do 2 different designs for us. And the first concept was more of this, where it was the benches up directly behind the sidewalk, and then some interactive type materials here. And then we did come into the conflict with there's no parking, who's going to be able to really utilize that. So we kind of came up with just scale back and focus directly on what's behind the sidewalk with these benches that could be, the company that produces them, they're shown here as white, but you can actually imprint photos. They could be historical photos, they could be event photos, they could be colorized, and then doing planters. So I think that's the scope that we were looking at when she said just focusing directly on behind the sidewalk. So it would just be shaving it down to a couple of benches and some of the planters to really beautify that area. That is a high traffic area.
Could I ask a quick question? I think that's a wonderful idea. I'm curious why there isn't more development off 10 Mile further south, because those homes are surrounded by woods and the houses there are getting insect problems at this point.
I can't answer to that. All I can say is that with the DDA, we focus within our, we have a defined area of development that we can expend funds. So these are projects that.
I'm glad you said that, because
Yep.
the zoning on the website is completely expired, and it doesn't even show Chase Bank, Kroger, any of that as commercial zoning, and it is.
Okay.
So that might be good for you guys to take that. Okay, an updated zoning map.
Yep. So I would say for us, this is a project that the DDA is undertaken for our design and appearance. But as always, as a member of the public, if you have ideas on other locations where you'd like to see development, you can always feel free to contact the township. We look for volunteers, engaged community members like yourselves that can help spearhead some of these types of activities. But there's no Parks and Recreation Commission anymore that focuses on things specifically like this. So it's really up to the community to push some of these projects forward, and the DDA can only focus on what's within our boundaries. So this is a thought that they had.
Well, what about where everybody parked by the generator for the trail?
Well, we can talk about all that stuff. And,
So
This is why we invited you to our design and appearance
Yeah.
committee meeting, so you could have the input on this. And you
Yeah.
delete
So
my
are you-
invitations, Amy.
Can I make a comment? Like, one of the things, again, an additional piece is, would it be helpful for us to create some sort of DDA Board of Trustees committee collaboration where we discuss some of this stuff so that we can hash some of this stuff out? And so
I actually like that.
it may be the answer is, you know what, this is a great introduction to let's talk about this stuff in more depth, but it's really not helpful for us as a DDA to be talking about all of these things and going, hey, this would be great, and then if we're not having communication with you guys, we're wasting our time. And, you know, love seeing Brian's designs, but, you know, we'd like him to be doing designing things that we're actually going to do. And so I feel like we need more, the DDA needs more feedback from the Board of Trustees to be able to be putting projects where you want them.
So is your overall goal then to then say, for us to give you, hey, art park, good idea, sculpture park, whatever, then I would say, yes, it's a good idea. And then some of the details, like how Sean mentioned it, was, yeah, maybe it's not a good location here because it's too small and can't, you know, continue to grow. That is something that is kind of hashed out on the subcommittee level. That way you at least have some sort of, you know, you're trying to target a dollar amount for fundraising. So I can say, yes, I support a sculpture park. I like it at Atchison Park, mainly because there's parking available. Novi has a sculpture park off of Napier Road that has a small parking lot, but that requires a lot more property than what's on the piece there. So I hope that's helpful input.
I think what we're looking for tonight, as Elisa had said, is that we're just kind of looking for support on if the township would be willing to allow us to move these forward, and if we could come to a design that we all approve of, that we could move that forward on that specific parcel. If the location is an issue, the direction could be we'd like to set up some liaison appointments to the DDA Design and Appearance Committee that can talk about specific locations. Knowing that you are approving of us moving forward with some of these, we wouldn't expend funds until we have a final location determined, because that obviously is going to define the scope of the project. But we could meet with these liaisons knowing that you are supportive of a project like this. We could hammer out a location, come back and say, would this location work? And then if so, we can bring back designs to confirm and finalize before this committee too. So no work is actually being completed. You don't have an opportunity to see a final design. It would still come back to you for approval on that.
You might want to have a definite theme, so that you're not having, this to me is kind of modern, and I just don't feel like that for our community, but it's a great idea. I love everything that's in here, just like Chris and Sean said. I wish I could get my, I lost my mind. What's
your farmer's market? Your safety town?
Safety town. Jeez, I could not get that out of my mind. Gosh, I wish you could help me with safety town somewhere in our township. I just think it's for the kids, and it would be so cool. And when John Bell was here, he and I worked on it, lots of designs and lots of areas. But anyways, I love the idea, though. I'm with them.
If you have your drawings, or
I do have them.
Yeah, definitely do. Yeah, we'd love to see them, because that's the issue. Is like with this, it's on our 2026. We're supposed to be fundraising, and I said, Amy, well, I can't fundraise if I don't know that I can even use this parcel, or you guys want this. We first need to know that. So what you guys are doing is saying, you know what, we're going to put our fundraising on hold because I can't fundraise off of hypothetical, that we're going to need to create something for us to be able to do the fundraising for what's in our current budget. We're going to need to create a viable project, and would like at this point then I think to probably say, hey, can we create some sort of subcommittee between our two boards so that we can work on something like this and actually get things moving forward a bit more streamlined.
I think a subcommittee would be excellent. Plus, I'm very excited for us to do something with that community space development, that the property that we just bought. And that's right in our downtown area. We never get the hawk signal going, and but all good things.
Do we have any ideas from this board on who may want to serve as a liaison, one or two individuals that might be willing to dedicate an hour a month to kind of meet with us to hash out some of these ideas? You don't have to speak now, but let me know afterwards.
Amy will be following up.
Excellent, excellent.
Okay. I can throw out some suggestions.
Yeah.
Robert was on the Park and Recs Advisory Board in the past, and so was Lisa. And then Patty, you have extensive knowledge.
Launch
of
it
Atchison.
in low. Everybody
And
I second that.
Volunteers.
Yeah.
I think it's great, but who maintains them once we get the donations and we build it?
We have an active
That's all.
DPW that'll take care of it.
Because
Yep.
I go back to what was spent going down
Yep.
Milford Road.
Yep, absolutely.
A lot of money.
We have we've started our DPW, they're
Valid
doing a great
concern.
job.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I don't want something like this to turn into flowers that are dead.
Okay, we get it.
I mean, that's the flower pots that you guys put out, beautiful, but they die.
Yep.
They're artificial flowers.
Okay.
They would last longer.
No taken.
All right.
So,
I-
just to quickly just talk about these other two. I think they all just should go to that committee. The gateway signage, as it says in here, that's something that would happen once the New Hudson Road is abandoned. There'll be space at that corner to put some sort of signage. This is one where it's a geographical, it's the township's, well, once it all gets done, the township will have that property. And then there'll be some concerns about timing because, does this need to be part of the streetscape versus, so that's some of the issues, which is also, Amy kind of created this and yes,
That's
stated
my
that.
feeling on that one
Yeah.
is I think having some sort of concept at this stage so that it can be part of, making sure that we have the space for it as we're finalizing the drawings on where exactly the property will start and end. But as far as actually constructing, my gut is that it probably would be better wrapped into the cohesive streetscape project.
And we have, when we did these mock-ups, we created some guidelines knowing that even with the redoing of the streetscape, we know 95% chance there's not going to be any major changes in that 6 points intersection.
Yeah, I guess I'm not
realistically.
saying in terms of footprint being affected, but just the overall design
Aesthetic.
style. Like, I would hate
Correct.
to spend a bunch on this big, pretty thing, and
Yep.
then we change our minds and say, well, we want the rest of us it to look like this, and then it's
Understandable.
disjointed.
Amy, wouldn't the only big change be that it's going to become a 5 points instead of a 6 points?
Sorry.
It
Go
would be
back and
5
forth.
points
It
at
will
that
be a
point.
5 points, yes.
Okay.
So,
We'll lose a point.
correct.
The gateway signage is the point.
Yep.
Yes.
And
But
I
again,
just look
thank
at-
you for the feedback, because we are not going to continue to develop these. You're giving me the feedback I need. We will have further discussions. And that last one is the community space that, the property next to the post office that was acquired. That is a property that is currently in the floodplain, so really developing it does require the drain to be done. So that is one where I'm a little hesitant to spend time to develop things that, yeah.
I think concept on that one would be good too, though. I mean, try to get
And
some
so
concept.
let's have, we'll have our committee meet and discuss, and exactly, we might, getting some concepts, so, when we also want to take a field trip, if anyone would like to go over to Farmington, and this is Westland, so there's a couple of communities have some really neat design, so we will be doing field trips and maybe some preliminary mock-ups, but again, we'll keep you in the loop through your liaisons, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, I
Appreciate
did.
it.
I want
Absolutely.
to.
Yeah,
I
go
do
ahead.
want to give you some feedback because I did actually look at these a little bit more, but I will only take 3 minutes because that's what we're allowed.
I will start
No.
the clock.
So I guess the global theme is just basically I'd like to see something that's a bit unique and not like something that's in the surrounding communities with, I guess, like kind of counteracted that statement by saying the sculpture park, which is in Novi. But like, some of the imagery was the ice rink. I know at one point we had a ice rink approved for Atchison Park. And that was actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Patty, that was actually graded out for that at one point in the past.
Yep.
I reluctantly don't think a farmer's market's a good idea, and I say that because the city's has done pretty well, and we've tried a farmer's market in the past, and it's failed. So as much as it'd be nice, I don't
I'll let the
think
TIF
we
plan
can
know.
compete with the city. There was an imagery of a splash pad. I know Novi has one too, and that probably it's its own animal, which leads me to the dog park. Speaking of animals, We already have one in the township at Lion Oaks. It's now free because of the millage that passed. So I don't know if it seems like redundant to do another dog park. I know it's kind of in the northeast corner, but I don't know, trying to think of something new. I thought about possibly, he showed a band shell or amphitheater type image. We do the music on the Grand at the church right now. If the property across the street almost could be maybe a permanent type facility.
Yep, that's the thought.
I think that's a pretty good idea. That can be a total community space. We could actually design it for the food trucks. There's already the parking lots there, maybe a little tot lot or safety town there, because there's what is that, 3 acres or so that.
And it also could be a trailhead as well. It's
absolutely.
quite,
You're
yeah,
pulling
there's a
people
lot
right off
really
the
cool
trail.
stuff. Brian, you're taking notes? Okay.
Yeah, I know I bike to music on the Grand anyways, but yeah, that'd be less biking for me. And I guess just with the gateway signage overall, I mean, we have signs around that are kind of changing colors and need to be a little updated, but just having the same color scheme themes, I think the renderings are on their way for that too. So making sure everything's coordinated, and if we need to update some of our signs around town that have faded, then that probably could be all brought together as one. So.
If I could jump in for one thing too, and this is something that we hadn't talked about ahead of time, so I'm just going to kind of throw it out there. I think eventually there will be some discussion too on branding of the downtown. I know it's a discussion we're going to be looking at for next year, possibly doing some rebranding for the DDA. But there was some discussion on our committee about, do we embrace the New Hudson portion? Because everybody that grew up around here, and I did not, I apologize, it always refers to it as I grew up in New Hudson. Mm-hmm. Some people are very adamant about wanting to label it Lyon Township. Do we have Lyon Township on our roundabouts, and then it's welcome to historic New Hudson on the gateway signage for that traditional downtown? So I just want to put that in your ear as something that the DDA will want some clarification on what this board wants to see moving forward regarding that.
I thought for one time, through the charrettes that we had, they named it the Hamlet of New Hudson.
Yeah.
I think that was called
To
Hamlet.
keep
Yeah, it is a hamlet.
Yeah, that's what,
That
and
was
we're
the
talking about
nuisance.
gateway signage. We just didn't know for sure if we wanted to refer to it as New Hudson, and then we were like, well, everybody historically refers to it as that, so historical, a hamlet of New Hudson, just how we want to kind of brand it. That will be a conversation that we definitely want to know the direction from the board on moving
I
forward.
agree.
Great. So all of you who are going to join us, keep thinking, and I guess either get Chris's notes or make him come. Thank you.
Thanks, Alyssa. All right, we're going to move on. Resolution 2026-11 to consider approval of the amended Michigan Mutual Aid Box Alarm System Association Agreement. And does everyone understand what that is? Because I was going to have Chief explain it if you didn't.
He looks ready to go.
Go ahead, he's already up here.
I think
You have 3 minutes.
I think there's a fire in this room. It's really hot. I don't know if you can maybe look around for one.
So Michigan Mavis is no different than the Oakland County agreement that we just signed not too long ago. We have to do that periodically. This is for that worst case scenario if all county assets or resources are exhausted. If you guys remember, just recently there was that big paper mill fire up in the UP. That was part of a Michigan Mavis activation. There were Oakland County resources and other surrounding jurisdictions that sent resources up to, I think it was Menominee, is where they went, and that was all through the Michigan Mavis. And what that does is it's designed so no one department is taking on all of that burden of having something like that going on. It's like all jurisdictions are willing to help out each other, and they eat their own costs. The only thing that is associated with that is every department, every organization that is part of either Oakland County or Michigan Mavis has to have that cost recovery aspect. And it is our due diligence to attempt to do any cost recovery we can, and if things are able to generate some funds, then we could help offset by paying some of those organizations back. But that does not have to happen if it's something that is solely bared on us and there is no one to bill. All of those entities, part of this organization, help eat some of that cost and spread it out through all of the communities. Kind of like that. That's what it's for, is just so we are able to ask for resources outside of Oakland County and anywhere in the state of Michigan.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-11 to approve the amended 2016 Michigan Mutual Aid Box Alarm System Association Agreement.
Support. All right, we have a motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thanks, Brady. We're going to move on. Consideration to approve the recommended repairs of the water tank at Lyon Township wastewater treatment plant. So what has happened is in our fourth SBR replacement, as you know, back the last upgrade we did, they actually built the batch tanks, 4 of them, and only plumbed 3 of them. So Eagle has gone on us and said that we have to get the last SBR tank in service, and we approved that contract. Well, they're out there working on it, and they drained that tank down to start getting the plumbing put in that tank, and it has deteriorated to the maximum. So we came up with a change order, and it's a healthy one. We got 3 prices on it. The one that they prefer, IMEG is the engineer on this project, and as you can see by their reference letters, they prefer to work with RAM Construction because they're very familiar with them and they know they do a fantastic job. And that's a recommendation to take the $233,465 quote.
And John, our operator, Highland Treatment, also recommends RAM, correct?
They have all worked with the RAM, so they're very comfortable with his work. And they're not comfortable with the top 2 items not listed in the low bid.
And
They left them vacant.
These funds would come from the Sewer Enterprise Fund, correct?
Yes, and they have sufficient funds
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah.
So, John, what's they do have a note in here that says final costs will be adjusted in a future change order. Note 1 under that, and that was under
Yeah.
the supervisors. How does that, is that going to be another change order? Like
Okay,
a large
so-
change order, or how does that?
I don't think so, but there's been several problems on this project, and the tank is one of the major. I put them on hold because, I think we need to talk through this thing and figure out who you and Chris. I know you're in this. Do you know who RAM is? I mean, are you familiar with them?
I haven't worked with them. I've worked with Pullman, who was the high bidder.
But you see Pullman's number?
Yeah. Yeah, but I've worked with IMEG. I do work with IMEG in their services. So, yeah, no, I'm not against this at all. I was just questioning that is the way it's kind of written up is they have just a note in there under one line and it says final cost will be adjusted in a future change order. So are we to expect another change order beyond
I think
this?
that's number 2, Chris, and it's in this B and E, because I already looked that up. Do you see that?
It's the one.
See?
It's the line above it.
Included in
under
other
one.
prices. I think it refers to these 2 columns.
It's the
That's my opinion.
Lee supervisor line item because it's number 1.
Probably because it's
the note for
hourly
2
time
is
and
just
material.
saying they rolled their
don't
general
know.
conditions into the others.
They're given an estimate on time, so I assume that once they reconcile everything at the end.
So if that's based on a percentage of that 9,500 line item, it's probably not going to be a whole lot if it does go above and beyond.
We're probably basing it on a percentage of the construction cost, I would think.
Can I mention one thing in the report that IMEG prepared? There could be additional damage on the other side of that concrete wall.
What I was going to ask
So
about.
there's some unknowns too moving forward on that. This is to repair this one cell, correct, John? Just
Yes.
the SBR4.
Yeah.
So once they empty that other SBR, there could be some additional concrete repairs needed for that. It's just not known.
So is it planned to inspect the other one?
I believe
at some
so, but they
point?
can't.
Because
I think they need to.
do we
this
need to
one
get
repaired.
SBR4 up, and then we take
I
3
believe so,
off
yes.
and
Yes.
then
And I'm
put them
not
both back?
managing this project
Okay.
for the township. I'm around it.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long have them tanks been? When was the last upgrade? They've been sitting in the ground a long, long time.
I think it's been over 15 years.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's been over that.
Yeah,
I think it was
I've
back
been here
in
for
06
15
maybe.
under CS, so between 15 and 20,
yeah.
I want to say.
2014 it says they were
I think that's
constructed.
it. It's only 12.
For the
Or,
last
sorry.
upgrade?
Well, that's when the drawings that they used were dated 2014.
I think it was from the
That was
very
before
beginning.
that. Yeah, it was before
It's
that.
been a while. It was the
It's
last
been-
expansion. I don't recall the year. I just wanted to mention that in the report because there could be some additional expenses, once they.
So there's not in your. I mean, I know you're not intimately this project, but just, I guess you or Chris or whoever, the vertical cracking and the fact that it could be coming from the other side, I mean, what's the risk of we do this repair and then this repair wasn't good enough and we have to redo this repair based on what we found on the other side? Or would it be just more likely a scenario where we do the same thing we did to this side to the other side and then we're good again?
I would think so, but until you look at it.
Until you dig it up, it's
Yeah,
going to be hard to
you don't
tell.
know.
All right.
Yeah.
But we got to get it fixed.
Right, exactly.
Well, right, there's no way around it.
You don't have a
still got to
choice.
do it. It's just pricing. So
Make a motion to approve IMAG and Highland Treatment's recommendation that we select RAM as the contractor to repair sequencing batch reactor number 4 at a cost not to exceed $233,465 to be paid by from the Sewer Enterprise Fund.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move on to our final item, which is E, the hawk signal discussion on a change order. And this is another situation that has happened. And, every time we try to do something good, something kind of falls apart. So basically, they ran into a huge boulder at 13 and a half feet. And they cannot get through it. And the change order, Leslie, you want to go over the change order for it? They've got to drill a new hole next to the existing hole, and they've got to get down, what is it? They have to get down 15 feet?
19 feet.
This is for the foundation for the mast?
For the yes,
right?
exactly.
Foundation.
Mm-hmm. So they encountered a very large granite boulder at about 13 feet. There was an on-site meeting last week, and the direction, because there's various options that you can do with projects like this when you encounter, but it was decided that it would be ideal to just relocate the mast arm foundation approximately 3 feet west of where it was planned. It wouldn't change the sidewalk. That work has not commenced yet. We have received a change order request from Rawhorn in the amount of $32,000. And so my design department manager, Mike Meering, sent a very detailed email to the 3 full-time officials and Amy on Friday that when you approved the construction contract, there was a contingency amount of $59,000. Well, we think we're going to be running over that. And so what I would recommend is adding some additional monies, approvals to the contingency amount so that we can proceed. We haven't authorized Rawhorn to continue until we talk about this item. Additionally, there's more additional on-site inspection and contract administration costs because the more time the contractor's out there, the more we're out there. So we're tracking that weekly, and I can give you an update on that at the June meeting too. Right now, we're at about half of those costs. And if the second drill hole doesn't work, I think what we're likely facing is a specialty contractor to rip through this rock because the placement of that pole was really vetted during public meeting process through the DDA, and the DDA felt very strongly about the location of that pole. An easement was negotiated, and unfortunately, this is where we're at. So we haven't approved that change order yet. We will present it to the full-time officials. We have questions for Rawhorn on some of their accounting. So we haven't even formally, officially, we wanted to really just inform the officials, like, there's some cost implications here.
Well, the problem is we're on a stop work order now, and if we don't approve something, it's going to lag on till the next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, the couple questions I have, I mean, are they drilling this hole? Or are they using like a Vector? I mean, it's pretty deep.
They're doing both.
So, I mean, it seems like a lot of money to just dig a hole. That's just straight down $32,000. My next question is what have we gone through the other $27,000 in contingency on thus far?
We haven't yet.
So
We're
you're
just
assuming
concerned.
that, okay.
We're concerned that by moving it, we might be in the same situation or a modified. It appears that, or we might have to then look at modifying the foundation design. And the meeting on site last week is the simplest path forward is let's see if we can move it a few feet. But Rawhorn's, when contractors bid, they make assumptions on how much time it's going to take to do things. So that $32,000 was based on the additional time trying to chip this thing apart. This is a chip of it.
But they're not. They're moving it now, right?
They're going to move it, but they could encounter something else. And so this was really just, there's a very good chance we're going to exceed, or it's possible we're going to exceed it. And If we do, if they try, then the project stops until the next board meeting.
So maybe I missed something. I thought the price to drill a new hole was $32,000.
No, that's what they've submitted so far to date.
Okay, I see. And they have no idea how much longer
Correct.
it will take. And they also have no idea that moving over 3 feet of this giant boulder, you may be
Hit it again.
however many feet away. How much is it to go to a specialty contractor and just know that we have the answer?
We think it's in the neighborhood of 50.
Yeah.
And there was an issue when we had met on site, John can probably speak more to this as he was there too, but there was discussion about some of the specialty contractor equipment that would be required would be too large to fit into that space because of where the utilities are located there. There's a very small space to work with, and some of that larger equipment that would actually bust through it would be too large to fit in that hole.
So they're in between utility lines right now?
Yeah.
And the larger caisson would be 52 inches, it would be really close. I don't even know if they could do it. They said they could, but.
We're not 100% sure. We're kind of doing one thing at a time. And so this is where we're at with this project. So my recommendation would be to increase the contingency amount and then for us to continually update the officials as this goes along full time. And we're happy to give you updates at board meetings. But when you stop projects, as you know, you end up paying a remob fee. Then you might get off their schedule. That opens up a potentially even bigger can of worms.
Mm-hmm. Was this ARPA funded too? This piece of it, or was it not part of it? So this would we've already exhausted that. So this would come from general fund, or is this DDA?
No,
DDA
we
funded a
were
portion of
footing
it,
in.
and then the township was taking over the rest of it.
Yeah.
So is it
We used
split?
ARPA funds. We used ARPA
for the
funds
flashy.
for the Hawk. Yeah.
Or
We thought it was going to end up being around 400, I think. Mm-hmm. And so we used the extra ARPA funds for the flashers.
Okay.
That's what we did.
Yep.
Okay, so you needed like 50 grand to keep the process moving to be safe, and then that gets funded. Is that still split between township and DDA, or how does that?
I assume it's going to be township at this point.
Yeah, I think we took that
Okay.
on, Chris. I think that's up.
I think we promised it.
Okay, so just wasn't sure.
Which, I don't know how much it matters, if it is what it is, but which direction is it moving?
To the
west.
Okay.
But the sidewalk,
It's
and
gonna
if
stay
that's
the same.
successful, it'll be fine because the push buttons can still be closer. It's the mast arm
so
itself.
so the button would be on a separate pedestal.
Yeah. Yes, that's
And
my
then-
understanding, and I'm not the design
Okay.
lead on
That's
this,
what he
but
said, yeah.
that's
That's what
my
he said.
understanding, yeah. I asked the same thing.
Okay.
So the sidewalk
yeah,
is
I'm
gonna
just
be.
thinking about the interaction of like, okay, where is the sidewalk? Where is the
Yes.
Yeah. How?
So my
How does this
recommendation
impact
at this
flow?
point would be to increase your contingency from 59,000 to 100,000 with us continually updating the full-time officials. And, again, if you'd like a report in June, I can always add something to your consent agenda or an item, a specific item. But that would be my recommendation to keep things moving along.
What do you guys say?
Sounds reasonable.
I do too.
So we want to make
So
a motion?
Support.
All right, we have a motion in support to raise that to 100,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Motion in order to adjourn.
I'll move the adjournment of this meeting.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?